Hey listeners, welcome to the Simpsons Index podcast with our special guest Michael Swaim. Before we get started, I want to apologize because there is a little audio issue at the beginning of the show. During the first segment, Michael's going to sound like he's on a telephone, but once we hit the second segment, the issue gets resolved and he sounds great. It's just part of the difficulties with doing international recordings. All right, let's start the podcast. The Simpsons Index, an online spreadsheet that is also a podcast. This is the podcast. Coming to you out of SideQuest Studios, this is the Simpsons Index, episode 144. Hello out there, I'm your host, Elliot Jay O'Neill, and joining me in SideQuest Studios is Danny Rosewell.
I'm Danny Rosewell.
And here as always, except when he's not, BT Calloway.
No, hi.
And joining us all the way from California in the United States from the Small Beans Network, Michael Swaim.
Woo! As I believe is tradition among Simpsons fans. Well, you took a hoy, so yeah. A woohoo to you fine gentlemen. Thanks for having me.
A woohoo to you too.
I'm Michael Swaim. My voice sounds like this.
And thank you for joining us for the Simpsons Index. This is a podcast where we watch and review 3 episodes of The Simpsons at a time, but there's a twist. Each episode must come from a different decade. Now, Michael, thank you very much for joining us on the podcast today. We like to ask our first-time guests, what is your Simpsons history? Where did the show begin with you?
Oh, wow. I have a pretty decent Simpsons history because one of my earliest memories, and I don't know how he called this because when I look back to it just being, Life in Hell and Matt Groening's previous work, Bongo Comics and such, my dad sat us, me and my little brother, on the couch when Simpsons Roasting Over an Open Fire was going to air for the first time and put a tape in the VCR to record it and was like, this is a little too raunchy for you to watch, but I think it's going to be an important part of cultural history. So you're going to watch it. It was that and the night vision footage of the bombing of Baghdad. So the two things, he was like, we're fucking watching this. This is important.
Man.
The big tour.
It's your moon landing.
Yeah, exactly. It was like, it's the big prediction of his life. And we used to just religiously tape that shit every single Sunday. It was the family ritual. Mom politely complaining that we are objectively too young to be watching it, but him going, but it's brilliant. That's like saying you wouldn't take them to see Othello when Shakespeare was writing because it's too violent. Yeah, she's like, all right, it is funny. And so to this day, it's everything to me. It taught me to write comedy. It informed the kind of comedy I like to write. Without it, I probably wouldn't be a comedian. There are other things I love, but it's the linchpin. I find myself constructing jokes mostly like Simpsons writers, and it's also my comfort food. So I've watched it over and over and over, and yes, I do watch all the way up to whatever's currently on air. I'm all caught up.
Oh, wow, because that's the other question. Where did the show end with you?
Yeah.
Because we're used to asking every one of our guests, where did you stop? So you haven't?
Yeah.
I had 12 years there where I did have a strong feeling about the Simpsons Golden Era was from here to here,
Yep.
and then I stopped watching here because it really went off the rails here. And I totally can still, and I'm excited to unpack all of that, but I've gotten to the point where there's still so many worse shows
Yeah.
that I can still watch the new ones, and it's like an album. I treat the seasons like albums now. My point is I got over trying to be cool and know when Simpsons got bad, and I still just watch it. And there are episodes where I go I was cringing from start to finish. That really did suck. But that used to make me hurt so much I didn't want to keep watching it. Now I'm like, well, the next one might be better.
Roll with the
They've
punches.
made fucking 500, and the staff is completely, the genetic makeup is completely different people at this point.
Yeah, same shell, different insides. But
Exactly.
yeah, and that's what we're sort of trying to do is to show people that there are still some gems in the later era.
Is that what we're doing?
Oh, yeah.
We were ripping into it.
We can do both.
Well, yeah, let's hook into the latest episode then. We just watched season 25, episode 4, YOLO. First released in November of 2013, it was directed by Michael Polcino, written by Michael Nebroni. In this episode, Homer starts feeling like he might not have fulfilled all of his dreams in life, and Marge puts him in touch with his old pen pal who helps him live out these dreams. And in the B story, Lisa introduces a self-monitoring method of school cheating thing, which doesn't work. I don't know. I didn't really follow the B story. Hey, guys, what did we think?
Not good, Ken. Didn't like it.
For something with a lot of potential, man, it just flattened itself.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a few moments that still stand out as like that joke was still not classic, but that joke was passable Simpsons joke. Good job. But you're kind of hungry for those moments, especially when it feels like a show that is built on, and even in the newer era, sometimes still hits. Like if you're going to have a one-off Simpsons characters, only in one and done, they usually have strong characteristics or are built around, like SNL style, an impression or even just an excellent voice one of the cast has come up with. This was just Hank Azaria doing his generic Latinx voice.
He's done it in a million episodes.
Generic, forgettable guy. Like, it's one of the more forgettable guest characters ever. And, yeah, other than standout jokes, that really bugged me. It also really bugged me that Homer and Marge seemed relegated to grounded parent jokes, which it's like, I don't know. I feel like Homer used to be, Bart is unsupervised because his family's on the brink of destitution. Homer's also out there being crazy. He doesn't give a shit his son is unsupervised. Now he's like texting his son's dad to pick the other kid up.
Yeah.
That seemed too grounded to me. It was odd.
Yeah. All right. Well, we got a little questionnaire with how we run the show, so let's hook into it. And we'll start with the man to my right, Danny Rosewell. For better or worse, what's a moment that stands out to you from this episode?
I've got to say that my big standout was like Bart and Milhouse starting off with this huge crushing friendship blow falling apart, and then it's just dropped. I was sure that was going to be the B story or the A story, and they strangling each other, and there's the allergy, and there's everything is like set up for heartbreak, you know?
I mean, fuck that bit with the allergy. That was one and done and totally pointless. But the setup of Bart always gets to go first, and then he even says, "Why are we friends?" It's like, your desk was behind mine in first class. I was like,
That was incredible. I was really invested in that. Gone.
Yeah, no good. And that all it was doing was setting up that Kirk was having a midlife crisis.
Yeah, and then he was dropped as well.
Yeah.
We didn't come back to Kirk. I think if it was like a YOLO arc, surely you should be coming back to Kirk at the end somehow, tying like he has a realization and then Homer learns from Kirk's realization. And
although Simpsons does have a proud tradition of the first like 5 minutes being
it's
about the squid port. No, it's about the mafia.
Yeah.
No, Bart got a job at the golf course. All right.
Yeah.
Or like my favorite instance of that is all the shit with Grandpa at his funeral, and they built a tennis court. And he goes, I bet you didn't see that coming.
Yeah. Literally shines a light on that.
Yeah, but at the same, I totally get Danny's point, and I think it's super true, is that it's weird. It's like, falling out between Bart and Milhouse used to be fodder for the heart of an entire episode.
Yeah.
Like also Lisa becomes disillusioned with the system. That used to be a whole episode.
Yeah.
Yep.
There's too much almost.
Oh, yeah. It's all the little germs trying to get through the door, and none of them can pass through. Move it, chowderhead. How about you, BT? What stands out to you for better or worse?
Okay, so doing the whole Homer has like a midlife crisis thing, considering how much he's achieved in his life already, that's a little hard to believe. But at least it could be that kind of thing of, you're never satisfied as a person. You can never stop and think, look back and go, I've done everything. It's always going to feel like, what haven't I done? So I appreciate that to a degree, but they're going through the list of things he wants to do with his pen pal. One is be a fireman. He's done that in season 18. Another is fight pirates. He's done that in the Mansion family. Like, he's literally already lived out all his boys. Like, they have no other things to draw from.
Dude's been to space. How can you feel you've done nothing with your life?
There's a drawing of him with Eduardo, and Eduardo's an astronaut, and he's like king of the cheeseburgers. Like, but you've been an astronaut.
You ordered him out on the cheeseburgers, oil platform.
Yeah, goddamn, everything. So like,
This is not even his first midlife crisis.
and that's the thing, because I appreciate the idea of the midlife crisis being it will never feel like enough because you're still living. It's like, so what else is there? but they don't focus on that. They focus on like he's done nothing, and it's season 20, goddamn 5.
Yeah.
And they don't solve the crisis. They
No.
get to the end and they're like, look, we've crossed 3 things off your list. Now you're enlightened. Now you are a bodhisattva. The end.
Now you're ready for the end. Congratulations.
Wait for death.
No, because there's no third act conflict or resolution on this. He just goes skydiving.
Yeah.
That's their third act.
The ending is super muddled. It's also weird that it's like Marge says, no, don't. You have a wife and children. Don't do dangerous, life-endangering shit. And he goes, no, hang up on her. You can listen to your wife when you're dead. It's like, I don't understand it. Is the message steered from look how ridiculous midlife crises are to lean into your midlife crisis.
Yeah.
Whatever it
Yeah.
tells you to do.
And live while you can. I know, it's one of those weird things where she's like, Homer, YOLO also means that you'll die one day. And it's like, does that mean he's never going to land? Of course he is. He's only like paragliding or whatever.
She told him to go hang out with him and fulfill this stuff.
Yeah.
She invited him over. She paid apparently for Eduardo to come to visit. Never mind. I'm talking too much. Let's move on.
All right, how about you, Michael? What stands out to you from this episode for better or worse?
I'm going to go Neil deGrasse Tyson on this shit. It bothered me that Homer does a bit where he says he fell fast in the speed of sound and then the sound of him falling catches up. But human terminal velocity is around 120 miles an hour. The speed of sound is like 750 or something. It's not physically possible. That's my takeaway.
I think you need to start that with well, actually.
Well, I mean, to that point as well, like, why did Homer go to hospital and Bart didn't?
I was
Like,
going to say.
Surely,
I found it really upsetting that Homer crashing into Bart was how to wrap up Bart's arc.
Yeah.
I mean, they're both dead. That goes without saying. But and then Homer's in hospital, Bart's fine. And then the next scene, Homer's fine, and the Spanish guy was just like sitting around waiting for him to get out of hospital so he could drive him to the airport. This makes no sense to me.
this guy who was like exceedingly rich that was able to pay for Homer to have all these experience.
Oh, yeah.
Can't get a fucking taxi to the Springfield airport.
Well, to be fair, the guy has 200 children, so that's a lot of, support
That
payments.
was an odd detail.
Yeah.
Oh, quick math. Yeah, 8 wives, 200 children. Like,
I mean, they're not all from his wives, I would assume. I would
Still.
hope, dear God.
You'd need to have some of those wives at the same time, just like constantly pumping them out.
Yeah. Crossover wives.
9 months a child times 200. The math doesn't work at all.
well, there's an interesting character trait for this guy. He's very virile.
Sperm dripping out of every orifice.
And
Thanks for that image, man.
And what stands out to me from this episode is, the Lisa subplot. I don't feel like they actually showed what this system was. Like,
No.
and when Bart was cheating and Lisa said, I'm going to dob you in, and he said, that's going to prove it didn't work. It's totally going to prove that it works. Lisa's policing. That
Yeah.
was part of her idea.
Yep, the pitch was, what was it?
Kids dobbing other
They'll-
kids.
Yeah, they'll take a vow to not cheat and dob in anyone who does.
Yeah.
It's literally part of the system.
Yeah, it feels like, and I'm not to besmirch, I like a lot of dumb humor too. I like a lot of dumb shows.
Of course.
But Simpsons is noted for its almost too smart. Like, we all went to fucking Harvard jokes. And what I was getting at with the speed of sound thing, I think does bear on this. Like, in the old days, that speed of sound thing would have been argued about in the writer's room.
Yeah, absolutely.
And now it's not, because they're like, speed of sound is a smart sounding thing to make a joke about, but they aren't actually super nerd scientists. And I think the same thing goes for people who recognize a classic Simpsons arc is Bart and Lisa have a problem, and at the end one of them whips out a solution where you're like, that's actually very clever. Like, suddenly, I don't know why Bart is Sherlock Holmes, but he's like, Bob Terwilliger did this and this and this. You're like, since when were you smart? But okay. And in this one, they're like, they know they need that. And then at the end, they just say a bunch of words. You're like, that wasn't like a puzzle. That wasn't anything.
Yeah.
It wasn't a solution. Yeah.
Like hacker speak. If we use enough big words, no one's going to care, you know?
Because Bart literally just
Exactly.
goes, oh, I'd need a sign from God to know I was wrong. Homer landed on me. I guess that's my... What?
Yeah, this storyline didn't really hold any water for me. It was, just netting, pouring water into netting.
Yeah.
So, play count. How many times before tonight have you watched this episode?
I have never watched this episode.
A big fat 0.
How about you, Michael?
Between 6 and 10, probably.
I'm very...
Jeez
Really?
Louise.
It also depends, because I sleep with television running continuously, which is a terrible habit. But so unconsciously, probably even more.
Yeah, I've probably seen this 3 times max, and, I still defend some of the HD era, but yeah, I don't know that I could even, sleep with this one on. So we also like to talk about on the index, 2 big factors of Simpsons episodes that we think are important because it was amazing, in the classic era to watch them strike this balance between the wackiness and the heart. So how about the wackiness? Was this a particularly wacky episode of The Simpsons?
I would say in the sense that Homer should clearly be dead. Someone should or probably has charted the cognitive dissonance between Homer's injuries and ability to heal, because it does seem like it varies. It's anomalous from episode to episode. But in the early days as a trend, Homer would get horribly hurt, but there would be some passing excuse for a consequence. Like he's in the full body cast for one scene. Later he's better. Now they literally do the things where the joke is a sword can just casually go through his body. There's a lot more magic as time goes on. And I would say this one goes hard towards wacky Homer. And I gotta say, I dislike it because it's wacky Homer in a way that they try to also do heart. You're like, he's squirrel gliding. Isn't that profound? And I'm like, it's neither wacky nor profound.
Yeah.
It's just weird.
It felt like they just wanted the shot of the scenery, It was for the beauty of the moment. I didn't feel like he even was learning anything from it. And he had Marge and Johnny Spaniard as devil and angel on both shoulders. I sound racist there, but what I mean is that he's a non-character. Not that Spaniards are all the same.
Keep moving, man.
Yeah.
Hey, Marge said it, not you.
Yeah,
I think she has that right now. Can't go gallivanting around with a Spaniard.
Yeah, Marge fully had one of her "I'm not racist, but" moments.
Seriously.
Yeah.
I think the gliding thing as well was almost an excuse to do a reprise of the cliff falling bit, but just with a skyscraper.
Yeah, with this sudden skyscraper that has never been in Springfield before.
And they leave it hanging. Like when Peter Griffin bangs his knee and it just goes for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Dude, they milk this way too much.
And then, he starts falling down, but then he manages to fly back up and then starts the whole process again.
Oh, and when he lands, suddenly he's over the school. He's not over the skyscraper at all.
That bothered me the most.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's like the rare occasion where you see Moe's in the background and King Toot's music store is not next door. And you're like, who animated this shit?
It's established canon, man.
That's it. I hope someone got fired for that blunder.
Yeah.
Everything can change around in The Simpsons. It is sort of Dark City-esque, but if something's been established, let's say 3 times, you do not fuck with that.
Yeah.
Moe's and King Toots can move around, but they're always next to each other.
Yeah, that's sacred.
Other bits of wackiness, just the whole Milhouse allergic reaction. He starts breathing through his eyes. I was like, I feel sick.
And I feel like they stacking the Milhouse jokes with him, vomiting the mac and cheese out of his nose as well.
The allergy, the mac and cheese, the nose thing, the eye thing, swallowing the roller coaster parts. I don't know, man. It's pick one and go with it.
And is he allergic to roller coaster parts? I'm confused.
So many Milhouse traits.
A bit of wackiness I will say I did like was Brockman coming to the school to do an interview, and he's like, I thought this was going to be a puff piece. You're wearing a sweater. He's like, no.
Tears off the sweater.
That I guess I'll give a bit of a joke too.
Just on the Brockman piece, though, and you pointed it out when we were watching the episode.
Yep.
They set up cameras in Skinner's house just for this piece.
Oh, yeah.
Well, this was a bit that bugged me because that entire part is just silence. There's no background sound. There's no reaction noises. And it happens a lot in the HD Simpsons where there's just this weird lack of ambient track and it's just hollow. It feels weird.
The sound design's definitely degraded. I mean, also case in point, I'm sure you guys saw that really egregiously bad Trump song they did went viral.
Yeah.
And similarly in this one, in the new era Simpsons, when they do the YOLO song, the lyrics there used to be this lyrical complexity and wit to Simpsons songs that would warrant releasing an album
That's
songs
it.
like Keith Springfield.
I had we all had the album.
Yeah, but you would not want to rehear the YOLO song.
No.
And I feel like, I don't know if it's when they parted ways with Alf Clausen or what, or if the process has changed, but yeah, the songs are just, I mean, Jesus, the 101 Dalmatians song.
Oh,
or whatever.
yeah.
I forget
Timeless.
the proper name.
Yeah.
How the Mighty Have Fallen, when you get to the point of the YOLO song where the lyrics are just like, you work every day at a job so lame, and every night you sleep the same. And it's like, damn, basic shit.
Yeah, it was so first drafty. Yeah.
It was so first drafty, and it kept going. Like, I laughed that they were doing, I thought the title gag, like pulling in You Only Live Twice, that made me chuckle. But it didn't need 3 hours. I didn't need a whole song, and it didn't need him doing the crying to the music at the end. And then he did that 3 times to get the extra high part in there.
Just to make sure you got it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not even their first Bond parody song, which is weird. They even have precedent for this from You Only Move Twice, where they have Hank Scorpio's song, which is amazing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Incredible song.
Oh, and don't forget the Max Power theme.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
But also, we've actually noticed this as well in recent episodes of The Simpsons when they do these parodies of like more slower, like even ballady songs, that when the lyrics are coming at you this slow, the jokes have got to be that much funnier.
Yeah.
Whereas, you know, you mentioned the 101 Dalmatians, the See My Vest thing, like that is so fucking fast and quick that you don't have time to absorb the jokes. Like, yeah.
Oh, man. I sit here with these slow ballad songs, and you see the rhyme coming from 3 months behind, you know?
Yeah.
And you're just sitting there, and he says, "It's make my day," and you're like, I bet he says pay next. Oh, what I'm going to say. And, oh, wow, what a curveball. Fuck, he's rhyming cat with Matt.
Yeah, the only thing that saved this scene for me was that he was binging out in the kitchen and he'd clearly hooked into a can of tennis balls. I did enjoy the visual of that.
I was unexpected.
So on the opposite of the wacky, we like to talk about the heart. You know, a lot of great Simpsons episodes really brought the emotional core. Did this one deliver?
No.
Yeah, no. I defer to Danny.
Yeah.
It just gave us music that did effectively make me realize I'm supposed to have emotions right now.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
well-drawn doodles of like the Gaudi Museum in Spain, and you're like, why is this Simpsons though? Why are we
Yeah.
here?
It's gorgeous,
What's
but why?
going
Why is
on?
it happening?
For a show that's ended like under the sea, in the future, in the past, and in space,
Mhm.
this is one of the few endings where I actually had an issue with the location. Again, not to shit on Spain, but it wasn't supported. Like, remember when
Yeah.
the Simpsons are going to Japan? It's going to be a huge deal. At the end, they're like, "Will you drive me to the airport?" No. Lush footage of Spain. He went all the way to Spain, and I was like, one of the main problems for late stage Simpsons for me is I do think it was key to the family that they were poor. What
Yeah,
happened to
yeah,
them
absolutely.
being lower middle class? How is he in Spain? What's going on?
Yeah.
With no warning either, just drops everything.
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
And why is he in Spain? You know, for one like 2-second shot at the end of this. Why?
Yes. How does it make you feel? I feel
Oh.
nothing.
Well, that's it. I guess the animators get to have fun in this era of The Simpsons because, I mean, objectively, you know, the gliding scene looked pretty and...
So you're positing that it's just self-indulgent, that they make it for them to make, not for us to watch.
I'm gonna guess between this and like the squirrel gliding bit that like maybe it was just the background animator's birthday, and they were like, "Here's some fun things for you to animate, Greg. You'll love it." Like, thanks, guys. That means the world.
I would not be shocked if shortly before this was pitched in the room, one of the producers just got back from Spain.
Yeah,
Like, it's
clearly.
beautiful, you guys.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
have to see it.
He's been body paragliding. And
Exactly.
Yeah.
And yeah, look, the only bit of heart that I can pull from this episode at all is, yeah, Lisa and Bart's little dynamic at the end, but yeah, I feel like Lisa just went crazy all of a sudden.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it didn't really make sense.
Theoretically, within the span of time it's taken home in a fall out of an airplane. So
Suddenly she's pulling out her hair and she hasn't slept in weeks. And
Yeah.
Like
Within
she's doing
what-
like a Joker thing where
what's
she has
like
to prove he's
10 minutes max. Yeah. But no, my problem with the heart here is it should be relatable because I think no matter what you do in life, there's going to be that itching problem in the back of your head. Was this, you know, significant
Oh.
enough? Should I have done
the
something else?
fundamental premise of the episode is such a heartfelt thing.
And yet I felt
Homer
nothing
with
of that.
crippling self-doubt and depression.
And he's even got those moments of, well, my treasure is my wife and kids. It's like, so you've already got the resolution sort
For
of
real.
right there.
Yeah, but
then,
what I haven't done is ride a fire truck.
except he has.
There's almost nothing you can say.
Yeah.
I think they do this message a lot better, ironically, with Bart, who has no reason to be thinking these thoughts because he's goddamn 10 years old.
Yeah.
In the episode, Bart does a really fun thing for the last time ever where they go on the cruise.
Yep.
And it was like the cohesive message that this episode needed, and they just got away from him. But that's why I still watch the new era, because they'll do the thing where, we screwed up a Spider-Man movie, we'll just do it again. And sometimes the second try is worth watching.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's a good episode that you mentioned as well, the one where they go to Antarctica.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, only right at the end, but still.
Yeah, but still. So ultimately, did this feel like an episode of The Simpsons? Were the characters behaving like themselves?
Show integrity, huh?
Yeah. Again, I think character-wise, yes, but plot-wise, no. Like, they were reacting to these kind of plot points that they would, but in just really pale, shallow ways.
I've got a hot take. No, I've got an objection with Skinner in this one.
Yeah, no, I
He
do
was
too.
really the sort of nervous weaseling on the podium, him fainting. I'm not sure if it was a fake faint or a real faint, but then he was lying there passed out, and they like steal his watch and they throw the bucket of water over him and he still doesn't come to.
Yep.
And then him at the end being like, I saved the day. I'm a hero.
No, his line is, I won this the same way I won that battle in Vietnam by fainting. It's like, no, we have seen Skinner in Vietnam. He knows what he's
a
fucking
hero.
doing.
He was in a prisoner of war camp. He like kicked that Disney lawyer's ass.
Compare this to the guy who's like, no, gentlemen, you made a mistake. You got an ex-Green Beret mad.
Yeah.
That was like Skinner prime. It was gorgeous. And this was just this pale, wussy-ass fuck.
Yeah.
Well, it was the duality of, like, his two bits were being that guy who then goes, yes, mother, yes, mother.
Yeah.
And it seems like the new crop of writers really like the yes, mother bit and forgot the other thing as a recurring bit. Like, they just set that bit down and everyone forgot about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they forget the joke is that he's this hard-ass, authoritarian who is then undermined by his own
Need
mother
the contrast.
and, Superintendent Chalmers. And, without the contrast, he's just a whipping boy.
Yeah.
I had problems with the characters across the board. Like I said, the main one for me that felt weird was just, I understand the impulse that when we're going to focus on Bart and Milhouse or Bart and Lisa or any combination of the kids, to write sitcom scenes that might be in like Parenthood where Marge and Homer are acting as the parent foils. But it felt weird to me because I can't remember them ever being that. Ever for the first 10 years. So it was weird to me for them to just be like Homer was a harried, tired parent who wants the kid to go home. That was really weird to me. And then Homer sort of clicked and got on board. I thought Milhouse was fine. I think the Skinner stuff is spot on. And then the main reason I feel like it doesn't feel like a Simpson episode is that ending. Like that last 5 minutes tries to cram in an extra heart payoff and takes us across the globe and just felt really unearned and weird. That was the weirdest thing for me.
Definitely.
I'm realizing I hate this episode more than I thought as I was watching it.
That
I was still
happens in discussion. You realize, wait a minute, I hate this.
that sucked. Yeah.
Well, I mean, the experience of you're always wanting to hope for the best, and then when let's put our thoughts together, holy shit.
Rotten of a critic.
Like, because in the ending as well, where it was just that quick write-off of, Homer's traumatic injury and Dr. Hibbert going, oh, if I gave you any morphine, you'd constantly break out into spontaneous laughter.
Yeah, didn't like that.
I feel like at this point, the reason Dr. Hibbert laughs inappropriately may be the most explained origin thing in the Simpsons universe. There's like 9 reasons.
Yep.
Absolutely.
I'm also sad they stopped. It feels like they gave up on the idea of every title being a pun.
Yeah.
How do you not call this yellow? That means that you decided not to do puns anymore, and that makes me sad, because it's right there.
But yes or no, would you watch this episode again?
I will later tonight, bro.
BT?
Nah, I don't think I can mine anything else out of this.
I think I would, but like hate watch it, I'd like swear at it and spit at it while I nearly said masturbate furiously, but that's not what I'm here to do.
Call me afterwards.
Hey, calling you the first time was hard enough, man.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I'm not.
Not going back?
No, not doing this again. So, Michael, what would you do to change this episode if you were to do a rewrite on this one?
I think it's all about editing the A and B plots down to pick one each.
Yeah.
And have them interrelate thematically. and you're not allowed to keep the rest. So if it's like Homer's having a midlife crisis and Lisa does the honor system thing, then Bart and Milhouse can't have a fight.
Yeah.
Not because Simpsons can't cram a lot of shit in, but we've established if Bart and Milhouse have a fight, that actually matters. We'll take a lot of an episode for that. So you don't just lightly, and I feel the same way about the travel, you don't lightly send the Simpsons to the Simpsons go to blank.
Yeah.
That's like an event on this show.
Yeah.
So that would be my main thing.
How about you, BT?
Man, I would like to see something with that Milhouse plot of always, Bart going first. I feel like they've done that before, but hey, why not? We've done all of this before. Man, that whole bit with Homer, give that some heart, because that is a relatable thing. I think no matter what, the grass is always greener, and there's a question of could you have done something else or something more? So just have some lines where that gets drawn out. Make Marge less weirdly flippant in this one. She even has a line of, "Oh, I thought when I invited this man round, you wouldn't drop everything and run away with him." It's like, what were you thinking was going to happen?
That's literally what she wanted him to do.
Yeah, and then just immediately drops that as an idea. So what? She was just weird and off-putting on this one. And man, if you're going to have this honor code system, A, have it make sense.
Yep.
And B, maybe you can even tie that into, Milhouse's thing where maybe he's the one who can supply answers to everyone. And so that does start making him more of a priority to everyone else.
He becomes a snitch and...
That's such an improvement right
Yeah.
away.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Good job.
Sometimes, thank you. It's something we find in these episodes. It just takes a room full of people talking about it, and you can get a better episode in minutes.
Yeah.
How about you, Danny? What would you like to change?
I was really moved by Swaim saying that your A and B plots got to connect. Thematically, it makes more sense. Like, I don't like the honor code thing because it doesn't really mean anything to me. I like the Milhouse and Bart one more because there could be like a tangent into the Homer thing, You don't need Homer to meet a Spaniard from the past. Have him meet up with like Lenny or Barney or a friend that he's been losing touch with.
He just finds a book of his, childhood dreams that he illustrated. We don't need this extra character.
And then like Bart and Milhouse's falling out is like reminiscent of his falling out with Barney or Lenny or something, and he has to save your friendship to save my friendship. And
we remember when we were
fulfilled.
kids and we had all these big dreams. Let's make some of those happen.
For real, man.
Or maybe he starts hanging out with Kirk.
Oh, why didn't I bring Kirk back?
Like, he sees Kirk running around in his Benz and everything. He's like, yeah, I got to hang out with this cool weirdo.
Ugh.
And then for a title pun, we could have Crisis on Infinite Kirks.
Not bad.
I know, it's not bad. It's not great, but it's not bad.
And yeah, look, the big thing I wanted to see is, the Lisa story expanded because they only sort of said that it was working, but we didn't really see, like, children dobbing in on each other, this whole thing of kids being suspicious of each other and getting all paranoid and shit, and Lisa becoming like an authoritarian.
Could go a full 1984 thing,
Yeah. Yeah, with Lisa as the 1984. I haven't read that book yet. I'm assuming the main character is called 1984.
You just keep dreaming, buddy.
And instead they fill that time with what I now call like Family Guy influence shit.
Yeah.
It's like it breaks my heart now to hear Elliot talking about like, yeah, you could have scenes that show don't tell about the honor system, which would also be very funny, but instead you just devote a long time for TV, for Simpsons, to Groundskeeper Willie shifting his eyes back and forth.
Oh man, that was a long scene.
We get it.
Yeah. That said, I kind of liked him with the pumpkin.
Yeah.
It was just a weird kind of reward, and his enthusiasm behind it kind of got me a little bit.
Fair
like
enough.
Marge loves potatoes. She just thinks they're neat.
Yeah.
She just thinks they're neat.
I because we skipped over it, I just wanted to mention that I wasn't really comfortable with the flight instructor being filmed while he was dying on a chapel. That felt odd to me. Like, why are you filming this, and why would you then publish it? And is it like a don't do what Donnie don't does story?
I had that exact thought.
And I don't know. It didn't feel right somehow.
And guest stars of the episode, we just had one, John Lovitz returning as Llewellyn Sinclair.
That's true, with the best line in the episode, I would say.
Oh, you
We
reckon?
have the best cobbler since Daniel Day-Lewis. That's the only like Sterling Simpsons line I think in this episode.
Okay, yeah, I'll pay that. Because I just sort of saw him and maybe immediately blanked because I'm like, we're giving John Lovitz another paycheck without a good reason again.
Yeah, Critic was good.
Yeah.
All right, BT, do you have any other notes?
I kind of like the line of, you only live once, psh, once again, cats have it better.
Yeah.
That was all right. And just my other note is just, what's the plot?
Great note. Great note.
But I'm out.
Did you have any other notes?
I wanted to say I liked Kent Brockman's little pop-up of Skinner being called Cheater, Booger Eater.
Oh, yeah. Did you guys notice as well, like, I don't think we've had a scene with Kent Brockman next to Skinner. I never noticed how similar they sound.
Ooh.
I wrote that down. Yeah, Harry Shearer against Harry Shearer.
Yeah.
It's always a problem because I realized, oh yes, every Harry Shearer voice is not. It's like John DiMaggio. He tries hard and he turns in great acting.
Yeah.
But you can always tell it's him. The core voice.
Yeah. He's like a character actor. You hire him to be DiMaggio.
Yeah.
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 Thank God Adventure Time and Futurama didn't do a crossover with Disenchantment.
Give it time.
How about you, Michael? Any other notes from this episode?
Oh no, I'm all out. YOLO. So I just I went hard.
All right. Well, I've just got a few final notes.
Now it's time, and now it's time for his final notes. Elliot's final notes.
Yeah, loving it.
His notes.
I found the design of Eduardo a little weird, how his eyebrows were like immediately stuck to his eyes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But it wasn't as weird as the design of the melancholy.
Yeah, that was a forced joke, man. Oh.
Yeah. And it was also almost setting up another plot point of now Marge feeling sad about...
Yeah, and they went nowhere with that. Who gives a shit about Marge's feelings?
Yeah.
I do.
To Marge.
Marge.
And my final note was the Star Trek reference to that Kirk Gorn fight.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. What do we got to think about this one?
I mean, Homer's such a huge Star Trek fan.
Clearly, yeah.
I get it.
His bucket list felt like it could have been brainstormed significantly longer.
Yeah.
And the entries could have been way more unique. That was weirdly disappointing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I felt like the writers watched the clip of that fight on YouTube and it's like, okay, we can get this through via Comic Book Guy or something.
Yeah, it's got nothing to do with Homer. He should be like riding the Duff blimp, stripping naked at a football game. But Homer, you did that last season in the third.
Yeah, your boyhood dream was to blah, 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 and you did it blah, 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 blah.
For real.
All right, it is time to rank this thing. On the Simpsons Index, we rank using our 6-point scale, which starts down the bottom at failure. But maybe if the episode was just meh, you give it participant. But for the positive rankings, you got okay bronze, good silver, excellent gold, but for the best of the very best, the episodes which The Simpsons could not exist without, you give cubic zirconia. I'm going to go first. Let me show you how it's done.
Yeah. What do you do?
Search your feelings.
Well, it's either going to be participant or failure. It's not getting in the positive rankings. You know what? I'm going to go participant. I think this episode just bored me more than anything. It didn't quite get me super angry. Even in this discussion, I was getting a little bit fired up, but, I'm not ready to hurt things. BT, what do you reckon?
Yeah, this one doesn't have enough substance to hurt me. It's just,
Wow.
I'm going to forget it, so I'm going to participant. It's just... The worst crime is it's lazy, but it's not so lazy that I get angry about it. So just participant. Let it be.
Danny?
I'm actually going to get a failure. You know what? I'm going to quote myself.
A wise man once said.
No, there was a part where we were talking about how the essence of this episode is a heart episode, talking about his depression and his midlife crisis.
Yep.
And the Bart Milhouse falling out thing, and the honor code thing, but it felt like it didn't achieve what it was going for, It's going to try, it was trying to do something, make a poignant statement about humanity.
It set its own goals and then failed
and
to
it
get
failed.
them.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't like episodes where they have 35 things happen in the one episode, but none of them really happen. It felt like you get distracted. Like the writers start something and then go, fuck it, I can't be arsed.
It felt like everything had its first and second act, and that's it.
Yeah.
And Michael, what would you like to rank this thing?
I gotta go bronze. And I'll tell you why.
Wow.
Hit
It
me.
is in no way a compliment. That's not an objective opinion on the quality of this episode. It's that I've watched all of them so many times that there is a very clear feeling of Simpsons disappointment that fills me with rage.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And this one, I think BT said it best. It doesn't impact me because it asks me to invest so little the whole time that it can't hurt me.
Yep.
So I'll give it bronze because I want to reserve participant and failure for ones where I'm like, God damn this episode. It pisses on everything I care about.
Oh, wow. You are a kinder man than us. Well, averaging out, that'll be a participant by split decision. This will be the 5th participant from season 25 that we've reviewed so far, including Yellow Subterfuge, where Bart and Agnes make Skinner think that Skinner killed his mother.
What?
Yep.
Yeah.
Diggs, where Bart gets into falconry with a Daniel Radcliffe character.
That one's fucking weird.
The yellow badge of cowage, which I think that's where
Awkward title.
Is that the foot race where Bart fails to help Milhouse not get beaten up, I believe?
Oh yeah, that's right.
Wow.
Thanks, because I had trouble remembering that one. And also Brick Like Me, the Lego episode.
Oh, sure.
It looked
Okay.
pretty, but the story was just meh.
It's weird. I'll skip that one every time. I think because it's become so comforting to me. I'm like, I appreciate what you're doing, but it should look like The Simpsons.
Yeah.
So
Totally.
I can sleep.
Yeah.
All right, and before we move on, we must ask, is that reputation justified?
Is that reputation justified?
I love my theme songs. This is where we look at what other reviewers had to say about this episode, and Dennis Perkins of the AV Club,
Dennis the Wildcard Perkins.
he gave it a B.
I'm telling you, Dennis Perkins is no longer the wild card. Everything is a B or a B minus later.
Scale from B to B.
Yeah, so on the AV Club scale, this is like roughly their silverish bronze territory. He said, unassuming but pleasant, that agreeable straightforwardness is most welcome even if Homer's story isn't particularly hilarious.
So, agreeable straightforwardness.
Yeah, when did the bar for comedy that you're going to watch at prime time with your precious life that hundreds of people are going to work on is like, I don't know, I didn't fly into a rage when I watched it. B.
Seriously.
We deserve better than that.
Absolutely.
Oh, that's a low bar.
All right, well, that's it for the HD era, and now we're going to the teens era, where we are reviewing They Saved Lisa's Brain. Now, Michael, you picked this one, but I'm going to turn to these guys and ask, just from title alone, do you know which one this one is?
They
All right,
saved
so this is going to be the one where they obviously remove Lisa's brain and put it into a Futurama like vat to preserve it for all
Martin.
time. And then it becomes like, that floating head out of Power Rangers. Prove me wrong, kids.
Yeah, Lisa turns into Zordon.
Saved Lisa's brain.
Ay, ay, ay.
I want to find out more about who they are.
Yeah. It's the ominous they.
All right, guys, we're going to watch this one, and we'll be back.
Sweet.
And we are back, and we just watched our Teens Era episode. This was Season 10, Episode 22, They Saved Lisa's Brain. First released in May of 1999, it was directed by Pete Michaels, written by Matt Selman. In this episode, Lisa's disappointed at the level of stupidity and riotiness in the town, so she writes a opinion piece in the paper which no one except the Springfield chapter of Mensa reads, and she gets accepted into Mensa. Hey, what'd we think?
Garbage. Garbage. It was garbage.
I disagree.
I disagree wholly.
It was a reasonably fun ride. Maybe not spectacular, but its mediums were certainly medium.
It's mediums worse.
I think it starts very mediocre and then kicks ass towards the finish line. I really enjoy the last few sequences quite a bit.
Yeah, for me, this is one that rises up as it goes. Because, the beginning, I've seen this one so many times, it's just background. So the beginning, I'm like, oh, yeah, this is a pretty weak opening.
Yeah.
But I feel like it gets better.
All right, well, let's hook into the questionnaire, because I'm excited by the level of discourse we're about to have. So, Danny,
Yes.
discourse being your middle name, we must ask you the first question. What's a moment that stands out to you for better or worse?
Oh, God. Probably, I think the food fight came out of left field a bit there. I think that whole intro premise of the person who does the most disgusting thing live on camera gets flown to Hawaii. And as a premise, that was bizarre. It seems bizarre. I'm not American, of course. That seems like it's probably a normal thing in America.
Wow, racist much?
Hey!
Bizarre stunts to win shit are intentionally bizarre. Yeah,
that's
for
yeah,
sure.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
a thing here,
That's
definitely.
90% of television now.
Yeah, haven't you watched Australia's Got Bizarre Talent?
And then, Bart goes, hey, I'm going to swallow anything. And then he just holds up a funnel and says, just throw anything at me. And he just starts swallowing. He just chugs pennies and whatever the fuck they throw at him.
Yeah,
What
he's
is going on?
He's doing an impression of Shoe Nice. You guys don't know Shoe Nice?
I have no idea.
Oh
what you're
yeah, I
talking
did a whole does not compute about Shoe Nice.
Oh, really?
about. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's something, man. The pure dedication and yet the dead eyes.
Yeah.
As he eats an entire bottle of shampoo and then downs
Jesus.
Ciroc by the handle. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. As an Australian, he once ate an entire jar of Vegemite, which made me proud and sick.
Yeah.
So there is precedent.
Oh,
Yeah, he's the evolved version of that kid who would just eat anything as long as you would be their friend.
yeah.
Damn it, eat this worm? Sure. Well, I've done it. That guy.
How about you, BT? What stands out to you from this episode, for better or worse?
We have 13 stores that begin with less sex. Sorry, that was just one of my favorite lines. I'm actually trying to figure out what really stands out to me here. I think it's what started off as a really good joke, but I don't really like the end of it, of when they're talking about how they've improved the town. Jury duty getting punched up with comic book references. That's great. We notice people only drive faster through yellow lights. Now we only have the red and yellow lights.
I fucking love this.
Yeah, I really love that one, but then I hated the last bit of just, and now we have classical music at the dog track. Like, oh, you had such good 1, 2.
Yeah.
And then the 3 just was your weakest one.
Yeah.
So I think it's a great moment of them improving things, which we then lead to them thinking they know better and just ruining everything.
The arrogance.
Yes, they're hubris.
The hubris.
How about you, Michael? What stands out to you from this episode, for better or worse?
Well, I'll answer that with a question. Do you guys, are you Mr. Show with Bob and David fans? Have you seen that?
I am.
Bits of, yeah.
Okay, well, in the pilot episode, there's a sketch about a lie detector, about derailing a train with his penis and slowly eating it piece by piece. Do you remember that?
Wow.
That's a roundabout way of saying that's one of my favorite sketches of all time. And this segment in this episode very much reminded me of it in a good way.
Yeah.
It also reminded me of Mo saying, I don't deserve this shabby treatment.
Yeah.
But there's a particular segment where it heats up to what I think Simpsons does best, for my money, where you get to a point where there's enough buildup that you can have a long sequence where every line is a punchline, boom, boom, boom. So for me, this episode's redeemed by this scene. Maybe Danny will agree. I don't know. He's my audience. I'm trying to sway him. They're sitting around brainstorming as men, so how to change the town. We could build a theater for shadow puppets. Balinese or Thai? Why not both? Then everyone's happy. Oh, yeah. Everyone's real happy then. Do I detect a note of sarcasm? Are you kidding me? This thing's off the charts. Professor Frink has a sarcasm detector. Comic book guy says, oh, a sarcasm detector. Yeah, that's a real useful invention. It explodes.
So good. And you
that's a
were
good
so
run.
disappointed at it when we were
That is
watching
a
it.
good run, Danny.
It was a great run. I feel that you didn't need the sarcasm detector.
Oh, yeah,
and then
you
another
did.
swing at it, and then suddenly the sarcasm blows up. I mean, come on, man. It's done. It's done. Although, I've got to say, Swaim saying, I'm trying to sway him, that was a great pun. That was gold.
Yeah, oh, there you go.
Yeah.
I'll take credit for that, incidentally.
And what stands out to me from this episode, may as well jump to the guest star of this episode, Stephen Hawking. I really enjoyed this performance, and this sort of kicked off, Stephen, Dr. Hawking, sorry, doing a run.
You and Steve. Yeah. First name terms.
Old Steve-O. Or Hawko, they both work. Him doing a run of cameos on shows and cartoons especially. Yeah, he had a couple on Futurama as well. Because, I remember you mentioned, didn't he shoot lasers out of his eyes?
Yeah, I was pretty sure he shot lasers out of his eyes.
It's Futurama in that one.
Is
didn't
this
know I could
even
do
his
that.
first Simpsons appearance?
Yeah, this was his first Simpsons.
Oh, cool. I'm glad I stumbled upon that because I know it's not his last.
There's the one
No.
with Ray Romano.
Yeah, where he explains that like a bend in space-time is why they couldn't... it's terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this one was great. I thought he did a really good job on it, and reading up on some facts about this episode, apparently,
I'm
it was
really impressed with his acting.
well, the ability for him to come in and be able to have a joke at himself and read the script and it's like, okay, we're basically going to turn you into Inspector Gadget for this episode.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, but the writers do deserve credit. There was a sketch, actually. There was a sketch we worked on at Cracked. Dan O'Brien and I were co-writing a thing for Weezer, the band Weezer, to do as promotion for the Red album.
Cool.
And we wrote a thing where they'd actually have to show up and act on set. And Funny or Die, who was also in the bidding, wrote a thing where they could just film themselves on their phones and send it in. So they got the bid.
Oh.
But Dan's whole angle on it And it was his premise, which was that Rivers Cuomo was the Highlander for some reason. But the point is, he realized Rivers is like a Hawking, only going to give you one performance. And the trick is to just go nuts with shit that you can't believe they would say. Like in this, I love that Hawking says, "Time for this hog to fly."
Yes. Yeah, that was great.
Because it's Dr. Stephen Hawking, for gosh sake.
Yeah.
And Daniel was going to have Rivers say, "I gotta fly, turkeys," and disappear in a cloud of smoke. And that feels like kismet or something.
Yeah. Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah, like credit to the writers as well. Like writing Hawking such classic lines as "Your utopia is more like a fruitopia," and apparently this was actually a really hard word for Stephen Hawking to program into his voice box.
Yeah.
Like they had to do a workaround for him to actually pronounce fruitopia properly.
Fruitopia.
But yeah, I thought it was really good. And of course, yeah, there is the big thing where he's talking with Homer in the bar later and theory about the donut-shaped universe. And apparently this has some grounding in scientific theory. The whole Taurian shape.
Toroidal shape.
Toroidal.
Yeah, sure.
That's the thing about science theory. You can theorize anything.
Yeah?
Right. Donuts are just one of the many wacky shapes the universe could be.
Yeah, prove it's not, yo.
Yeah, I had the same thought because I'd made that connection before, and I Googled right before we recorded. And all I found was that in 1984, one scientist posited as a thought experiment a universal shape made of like 8 toruses intersecting in a particular way. So no matter how you slice it, it's not like a donut, which is what they say. But I do think the Trump presidency thing is pretty... Simpsons predicted Trump presidency if that hasn't scanned. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, we know.
It's funny because they had a recent episode where they do like a future jump and they were like, "Must tell President Kid Rock," and it's like, no, don't fucking do that
No
again.
more predictions.
It's a dangerous game, my friend.
Play count. How many times before tonight have you seen this episode?
Oh, boy. I'm going to say 8.
Yeah?
My gut says 8.
I don't know. Something matching my IQ of 90.
No, I've seen it maybe twice in the distant past.
Yeah, I've seen this a bunch. I couldn't put a number on it. Like, I really love season 10. Like, even though we call this the teens era, I still consider a lot of these episodes really classic.
Yeah, some of them.
So how about the wackiness of this episode? Was this particularly wacky?
Yes.
I mean,
Yes,
it starts with a wacky contest. So.
Stephen Hawking has a boxing glove shoot out of his wheelchair on a spring. It's pretty wacky.
I just love the whole, go-go gadget helicopter and no, not gadget toothbrush,
Yeah.
Man, we've got Lovejoy's book burning mobile,
Yeah.
which is presently on fire.
Wow.
We got Bart riding the pig through the background, and then later on the
Pig riding Bart. Yeah, of course. That was pretty great. That was my favorite part of the episode. Pig riding Bart.
I just said the sting after. We can improve ourselves. Most of us.
Yeah.
I think my favorite absurdist thing that is super wacky is the audience chanting, "Governance, governance, governance."
I think it just shows, how easily Springfield can be whipped into a mob over virtually anything.
Yeah.
Even governance.
That was a nice punctuation there.
Dramatic
Beautiful.
sting there. Didn't mean it. Also, ow.
That's off screen. Yeah, he just punched a music stand.
Yeah. Got a good sound out
I
of
was
it,
trying
so.
to keep up.
Mayor Quimby escaping on
I was
a
gonna say,
horse.
that was my
and then
favorite bit of that.
parachuting the horse out of the plane.
Well,
and the
no, you first they come in and shred all the documents, then they shred the shredder. Then he rides the horse into the Hercules airplane, which takes off and parachutes the horse out. So the horse is no longer complicit in this escape.
Wonderful sequence, I gotta say.
Yeah, that was spectacular.
But nonsense. I mean, it is nonsense. It's nonsense, right?
Yeah.
They walked in to file a complaint about pagodas because Skinner the wuss was too wussy to stand up to the thing, and the cop walks up and he's like, no, you know what? You guys are all she-males. Did he say she-males?
That was
Yeah,
awkward.
that wasn't great.
Yeah, that was dated.
Yeah.
But excuse me, sir, they're gazebos.
Yeah, I was about to
Let's
say.
get that straight. The less said about gazebo 8, the better.
What is the difference between a gazebo and a pagoda?
We'll talk about it in the break, man.
And then there's pergola as well. I think that's somewhere between heaven and hell, or somewhere between gazebo and pagoda.
Then what's a hut?
Oh my gosh, you're just...
That one's made out of goat skins, held
you
aloft with
look,
toothpicks.
If you want to open Pandora's hut, we'll do it later. But right now...
Isn't that character from Star Wars? But yeah, talking about wacky as well, like that initial commercial for the how low will you go? And
Yes.
they visually
Yes, that
tell
was
this
great.
by the limbo and the army guys walking under the barbed wire.
And then he pushes her in front of a train.
Yep.
What the hell?
It's okay. You see her happily on a cast in a beach in Hawaii in
Oh
the
my
next shot.
god.
Apparently, it was Hartford, Connecticut. No one said Hawaii.
Brought to you by pudding that's fat-free but has hyper sugar, which provides 300% of your sweetness requirements.
The low-fat pudding that's
Yep.
approved for sale by the government. Cut to just American flag and a guy saluting.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, Uncle Sam wiping his pudding on it.
That's right. Yeah.
Technically a violation of the flag code, but all right, whatever, Uncle Sam.
Not when Uncle Sam does
Yeah.
it.
So how about some more wacky bits from the actual contest as well? Like, I thought Homer's little popcorn outfit was really clever.
Hot butter, check it and see. I didn't love it. It was okay.
Yeah, it didn't feel like he was doing a disgusting bit. It felt like he was doing an America's Got Talent thing.
Well, one bit I liked that I know you didn't from reaction alone was, what? It's me, Mo, in a sailor suit. Mo, Wally. It's so out of character. I'm sorry. I like that bit.
I definitely had that thought. I remember very vividly the first time I saw the episode having the thought, that's not gross, it's more painful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I do appreciate that they didn't just make Homer do some wild shit, like over the top. Just because of the episode we just covered, it felt like they at least had the restraint to be like, well, it's not Homer's A-plot, so let's not really have him do the main thing.
Yeah.
That's fair. Look, that's fair. And Mo in a sailor suit with a lollipop looks great. I think that's not even the first time I've seen him in a sailor suit with a lollipop.
But it's so out of character.
I think that was what bugged me, is that he was saying it like the writers saying to the audience, look, guys, we've taken our character and stuck him in a wacky
And
costume. Isn't that out of...
That would have bothered me if the people loved it, but they all gave him zeros.
Yeah.
And he's like, but come on, this is...
I really want to know because they didn't actually show
They
the
didn't
act.
score Bart. Bart didn't get a score. That upset me as well. Because he was the one that was actually doing something really upsettingly gross. And
Yeah.
The one act that they didn't actually show, but they showed them, off stage with Lenny in a urinal costume and Kirk wearing a diaper. I really want to know, was this a double act?
nothing good, man. Nothing good.
Yeah, that could have won it.
Yeah.
I just don't want to see it.
Oh, man. I think he already had that urinal costume,
I reckon Kirk already had that diaper.
All right. Moving on.
Probably more wackiness to talk about, but how about the heart of this episode? Did we feel, for Lisa and her story and all that?
I mean, I love me a Lisa episode, so I knew I would gravitate towards one. And I do like that in light of YOLO, which we covered recently, the focus and the fact that Lisa really takes the lead and it's a Lisa story, and it does that Simpsons thing where we scope down. As I admitted at the top, even this watch, I was like, did I pick a bad episode? Because it takes a long time to get to anything I would consider top shelf. So I understand if, there was a weird noise on your end. What was that?
Mysterious
sure.
door closure.
Break and enter?
Okay.
Do you want me to go check on a break and enter?
Nah, it's probably my door. I think I have the window open.
Oh, right.
Well, as I was saying, I think it's how much goodwill you have for The Simpsons and how quickly you can bounce back, because
Yeah.
the first half of this doesn't inspire confidence. And then the second half, I think, is legitimately solid. But if you're already soured on it, it's sort of hard to pull yourself out of it. And I do think the heart works because I ultimately think it's far from the best heart episode. But I think it works at least structurally in the sense of Lisa has a little journey.
Yep.
She tries something. It doesn't work out. She learns a clear lesson from that. We all go home happy and masturbate furiously or whatever we do. So maybe that is a low bar. But to me, I'm glad that in season 10, they're still accomplishing something that's clear, even if it's not super complex.
Yeah.
And I think even just little bits, this is one with very kind of subtle moments of when she first meets Mensa and like, I think you'll fit in well here. And she goes, wow, me, fit in. And it's like, just that little bit.
That's sweet.
That's a little, it's just a line. And I think instead of heart on this one, we have more of almost like a moral kind of thing, where there's that bit of complexity and, the corruption by power. They start by doing good things to the town, but slowly it becomes things for themselves.
Well, yeah, it's the whole arrogance and hubris thing, and then
I think you mean humorous.
There's definitely a lot of that going on. Like, there's definitely this whole. I mean, maybe it's just me being pedantic, but I really got a vibe of writers that aren't smart trying to write smart stuff for smart people. You know?
Yeah.
Look how mental we are. We're going to show how smart we are by having them do a fucking anagram. Not an anagram, a parallelogram.
Palindrome. Palindrome.
Even
You love
compared to like the speed of sound joke from YOLO,
Yeah.
you know, like maybe I'm coming in with a low bar because of what we just watched, but I liked stuff like, this man does not speak for the Council of Alphas. We hold you sub-omegaloids in the highest regard.
Yeah. And it's just in passing, yeah.
yeah.
It's not the wittiest Simpsons ever got, but it's at least middling.
And there was a joke I wanted to check with the rest of you because they refer to them as, when Brockman is talking about them, refers to them as the break pack. Is that a reference anyone gets?
I didn't.
Break pack.
I think that's what they said, but it felt like it might have been a reference I didn't get, so I was curious.
No. Brat pack.
I'm gonna Google
Rat
quickly.
pack.
Talk amongst yourselves while I science.
All right, later. Well, yeah, I mean, I think where they did bring in the heart for me in this episode was the mirroring riots at the start and the end. And, it's just always Lisa trying to escape this. And, at least she did make a buddy in Stephen Hawking who could,
Did he, like, when he was flying on his jetpack-powered head propellers, God, I feel stupid just saying it, and then he shoots out, like, a Dr. Octopus tentacle, and it grabs Lisa by the dress, and it pulls her up into the air by the dress that she doesn't fall out of and doesn't rip or anything.
That's science, man. Hawking had that all planned out.
Yeah, fair enough. Can't argue with science. Jeez.
But then, he only, takes her, 10 feet away from the thing.
Yeah,
and just,
And suddenly the rioters are just, background now. Who cares? They're gone.
Yeah.
They write them out. Exit stage left.
Yeah, and they didn't do any kind of resonant heartbeat like they do at the end of some episodes.
Yeah.
It definitely ends on like Gerald Ford and Homer having nachos. I think Homer just says we're wrapping up. Do you guys want to have beers? And Hawking's like, that's the best thing I've heard all day.
Oh,
Yeah.
man. Marge says, who wants some beers? When has she ever said, who wants some beers?
Occasionally, she's like, all right, you're a little overstimulated. Let's get you straight home and get you some beer and get you into bed.
That's
Yeah,
it.
but saying, hey,
I know,
Homer needs a beer is different from saying, yo, guys, let's hit the pub and do shots.
Hey, man.
It's not
But
Marge.
even in the classic era, like in the Dangerfield episode, it ends with, where's all this booze coming from? Who cares? It's a party. I do think there's a Simpsons tradition of episodes that end with the cop-out ending.
Yeah.
But it is hard for the heart to really come through when you make that choice, when it's one of those.
No, that's it.
I found the bit. The line is actually Bright Pack, which is not a very smart reference.
The Bright Pack, the
So-
Brat
Instead
Pack?
of the Brat Pack.
but that doesn't even fit. So I think that's a bad reference. So
Which was what? Feldman and Corey Haim, and that was the Brat Pack, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I thought it
yeah,
was
Rob
Robert
Lowe.
Downey Jr. and Rob Lowe and stuff.
Oh, that's probably right.
And there was the Frat Pack as well with
Jesus.
Will Ferrell and
yeah,
Chris Kattan and
they reprise this bit a lot.
They're going to
across
run
the
out
board.
of rhymes for packs pretty
They
soon.
pretty much have.
Yeah.
oh yeah, and of course the Rat Pack with Sinatra and shit.
Yeah. Scat Pack.
That's the one I know.
Scat Pack.
Yeah, the people that eat their own. You know what? Let's not get into it.
Ultimately, did this feel like an episode of The Simpsons? Were the characters behaving like themselves? How's the integrity? All that.
Lisa wants a better, more intellectual world. That's absolutely on point. And
Yeah.
we haven't really touched on the
Yeah.
B story at all, which is
yeah.
Homer's boudoir photography.
Yeah, I don't care about that. The whole time I'm like, I'm sorry. Yeah, I didn't need that. That is like a filler B story as far
It was
as I'm
very
concerned.
filler.
It's filler, but I'll take it entirely for the final line of, but I was going to score. No, you weren't.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
great.
That's
you know what?
decent.
To me, that was probably the more heartfelt of the arcs. Just
His timidness.
yeah, his timidness, his self-exposure. He's trying to do something nice for, am I sexy? Am I a sex object? How can I appeal to Marge? And puts himself out there. He puts his... puts it all on the line.
Puts it all out there.
Sure does.
Yeah, it was a little bit fat shamey, but I still liked, some of the photographer's reaction of just scooping up the Vaseline with a trowel.
Yeah.
Was a bit fat shamey now that you
think
say
it was.
it.
I think it was one by too many. You have the trowel bit, and then some of the other ones you can skip. You don't need it cringing every time.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
They didn't have a follow-up to like Bart and Milhouse peeking in at him. I really thought that was going to go somewhere, you know? Like suddenly he's found his dad doing porn with a strange girl on a camera. Surely there's a follow-up beat to that. That felt like an arc.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
True.
And that could have made a decent A-plot in another episode, although I'm glad they didn't try to crowd both in.
Yeah.
But yeah, like now that it's mentioned, because totally forgot it's happened. Like it really, has nothing to do with the Lisa plot at all, and doesn't really
doesn't tie
add
back
anything
in.
to it.
They were going down to the basement to redecorate, and then hard cut to them in the riot in the next scene, just like at the speech.
Oh, yeah.
Didn't exactly wrap that shit up.
Let's assume this is meant to be a parallel. One's all about the mind, the other's all about the body in the A and B plots.
There we go.
Wow.
Intellectualism.
Ooh, loving it.
I'm starting to realize BT is the philosopher of the group.
Probably the one most likely to go join Mensa.
Bunch of nerds.
They're assholes, too. They're dicks. I'm telling you, look into it.
Yeah?
Well, it's like how Rick and Morty is good and the fan base mostly sucks.
Right, yeah.
Think about it this way. If you've reached your mid-30s and you still think it's super cool to feel better than other people because of an IQ test, you're a prick, probably.
And so good you want to hang out with other people who feel really good about their IQ scores.
If you believe that IQ is a valid indication of anything, then you're not smart enough to be in Mensa.
Yes, queen.
It's that old catch-22 of I wouldn't want to be a part of any club that would accept me as a member.
Yeah.
Or was that Marx? I can't remember.
Yep.
Yeah.
Marx Brothers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Not Karl Marx.
not the commie. None of this pinko crap.
But yes or no, would you watch this episode again?
Oh, definitely. Yes.
Yeah, sure.
And I was joking last episode. This time I mean it.
I actually
Speak from the heart, man.
Nah, bro. I walked out of this angry and upset, you know? I think I would rewatch it as a writing exercise. I would have a lot of fun critiquing it and...
Well, I'll throw to you first after I say,
And I am.
yes, I would watch it again. So what would you like to change then?
So many things, but I actually, just now that we said that, I got way more invested in Homer having to explain, like, good pornography to his son, that I'm not trying to do. Nudity and sex isn't always something negative. I'm doing this as a loving gesture for my wife, and, like, wholesomeness and birds and the beesiness, and, like, Bart being all, like, freaked out because he's walked into something that he doesn't understand, and that sounds like such a complex, interesting, hard episode to me. I want to dive deep in that.
Yeah.
All right. How about you, BT? What would you like to change?
There are certain segments I think you could easily cut to give a bit more weight to your third act. So only have, the start up with the boudoir photographer once. We don't need to do that twice.
Yep.
And also Lisa walking around and going, did you read the paper today, Dad? Did you read the paper today, Mr. Flanders? That accomplished nothing other than no one read it. But so what? She can just outright get the message from Mensa, and that goes from there. And I think that would free up a bit more time for the back end of this episode where have a bit more slow corruption of going, because we do go straight from doing good to the community to ruined by all to everyone have beers now. So just a little bit more time for that third act to breathe is what I want on this one.
Well, yeah, because that's all I'd change is because, we just get a sudden corruption of power by, them saying the things, with comic book guy getting all Star Trek Vulcan.
Sex once every 7 years.
Which for me means much, much more.
It's a very good Star Trek shoehorn of, I'm going to make you fuck less. Willie in the audience. You cannot do it, sir. You do not have the power.
Now I get
Did
it.
you not click with that, Elliot? Come on.
No.
No, that was worth it for the line, but I think as like a moment in the plot, it was weak,
Oh,
Sure.
Sorry, you've just blown my fucking mind. I didn't get that
it was a
at the
great
time.
line.
God,
That was a
of
great
course.
line.
Oh, that's wonderful. How about you, Michael? What would you like to change about this episode?
I think I'd completely delete the gross out contest and have that plot beat exist, but go back to the writing room and come up with a structure that yields better jokes than that did. To me, that's the glaring weakness in the episode. And I like it there as far as a meandery first act, like tentpole. But I don't know. I just feel like the Grandma Plopwell's got me going. Everything afterwards I enjoy very much. But the contest itself, I agree every single bit. Even the ones I enjoyed, I thought could be better.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we're here. BT, do you have any other notes?
Don't I always? This one starts with The Simpsons watching TV. We like to note when that happens because it seems like something most other shows will never do. The idea of your characters watching something else is weird. But Simpsons do it a lot, and it usually works really well. I will say there's this weird bit with chaos in the riot after the show, the wackiness show.
Oh, hold on. You're just going to breeze past what they were actually watching on TV?
Ethnic Mixed Match Comedy number 631.
Shut up, here. Yeah.
Oh man, we have to talk about race a lot in The Simpsons. You know, they definitely have a heavy hand with like ethnic stereotyping.
But I feel like this was kind of a thing for a while. Like, they've got the other reference where they're watching TV and it's it's the British one, which is "Do shut up."
Yeah.
You know, things like that.
Yeah.
Well, just that, like hanging a lamp on it, like pointing at yourself and saying it's ethnic, doesn't necessarily give you a pass. You know, it's not an N-word pass. I think
You know those don't exist, right? Like you spend $200 on that pass and it's worthless.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that guy was ripping you off, man. I get that. I think it's a very personal comedy formula, because, I mean, let's be honest, I think people who've thought about it deeply realize it's not an issue as black and white as you can't say something. It's that how something is said and who said it, when, why.
Yeah,
you
entire
can get
context.
away. There's a reason you can watch something that's nominally super, super offensive and not feel those daggers at all. And then when someone says something fairly simple, but the underlying thing is like, wait, that's your worldview, though? That's really cruel and fucked up.
Yeah.
For me personally, and it's right on the edge, because ethnic mismatch comedy has a number after it.
Yeah.
For me, that makes it past the bar and becomes satirical. And I also totally get what Danny's saying about lampshading, because there's a lot of shows, Big Bang Theory, where that's all they do is get away with racist shit by
absolutely.
lampshading.
I mean, you're right. I think putting a number after it, ethnic mismatch comedy number 6543 or whatever, is funnier. It's definitely making a point about it. Whereas like The Simpsons have often step too far in the other direction. I think there's one that we've talked about a bunch of times where Itchy and Scratchy go to a Chinese restaurant and they all get eaten alive by these really racist stereotypes, and then they eat the bones and then they're I don't know, man, it doesn't always land, I think. And so maybe it's become something that I'm very wary about with The Simpsons.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't always land. Yeah, for sure. And I'm parsing. I just choose to believe in this instance they're saying, look how every show is just based on racial stereotypes. Although they're still overlooking and we have Hank Azaria doing Apu, which we will for another 12 years, you know, so.
Yeah, I think race in The Simpsons could be an entire thesis, if not multiple theses. Theses.
Feces, just say it. You want to say it. Say it.
So yeah, next in the chaos of the riot, they have like a art truck that's tipped over, and Homer smears pudding on Van Gogh's portrait and gives him
like a Homer face.
It was
Homer
weird.
beard.
I felt like I could have done with that as well. I don't know what's up with that.
I don't know why the art truck was there. It was just so they had something to knock over and burn. Like. The big beat of the story is we're going to start with a riot. What can we do to cause a riot so that Lisa gets upset, so that Lisa joins Mess, so that it
I
becomes
guess they needed to show them disrespecting art and intellectual property, whatever.
Just start with a riot.
Yeah.
Cold pan onto a riot, and everyone's just like, oh, I guess
How
it's
did this
just
start?
another riot.
Fuck it.
Oh, I don't know. It's Wednesday.
whatever.
Riot Tuesday or something.
It's a perfect opportunity to set up a first beat where it's a real bookmobile and it's burning. So it's a bookmobile burning. So the second beat about the book burning mobile is a callback. I don't know why they didn't do that.
Actually, I like that way more. Okay, then we have the next philosophical question of beat it. To what does it refer?
Oh, God, Mensa, you pretentious wankers.
I like that line a lot.
Yeah.
And finally is a bit of Simpsons broke my brain, because anytime someone makes a grand philosophical statement, it's like, even you? No, not me. Never. That's just imprinted in my mind every time something doesn't apply to me.
Yep. How about you, Danny? Any other notes?
I could sit here just whinging about how this episode didn't hit me personally, but you all have good things to say, and
do we bring you here to agree with us, or do we bring you here to speak your mind?
It sounds like you got more to say for the rankings, so I'll throw it to Mike. Do you have any other notes for this episode? Any other bits to mention?
Yeah, some odds and ends. I love that, and I wonder when the switchover was. Lisa's still, it cuts to her in 2003 or 5 or whenever this is, using a typewriter instead of a power book.
Homer's reading the newspaper.
Yeah. I was also oddly comforted in a similar way because I'm like, that's the old shit.
Yeah.
Give it to me,
Yeah.
baby. With that, they make a Mel Lazarus joke, and I don't know who that is. So I like Simpsons when it's so nerdy that there's references I don't know, because it makes me realize the reason I like that about a show that's very, very obscure and smart and has a lot to dig into is it makes me realize as I'm watching it, even if there's a joke I don't get, that there's more knowledge to be had in the world than I have. And like,
there's that comforting feeling that your parents are immortal and invincible and they know everything and you know nothing, you know? There's it's beautiful,
or like
really.
playing a sport against someone who's really good and you progress faster.
Yeah.
I feel like I get smarter if I watch shit where a couple of the jokes I don't even get.
Where you're challenged.
So I like the Mel Lazarus bit, even though I don't get it. And I like the, well, we've decided to use sensible solutions to help everyone in the community. Well, forgive this jaded reporter for saying I've heard that before. Oh, well, we really mean it.
No, totally. All right, well, it's time for my final notes. Little bit of a a Jordan Zaynor corner. So we've got a frequent guest on this show who's particularly anally retentive, so we have a segment dedicated to him where we get anally retentive.
And as time progresses, we just get more and more muddled in the announcement of that segment.
So when Homer goes to look up boudoir, he clearly goes to beyond the halfway point of the dictionary.
Oh my God.
That's great.
Fair.
That is anal, man.
Assume the first 60 pages are introduction.
I thought you were going to talk about the
Wait.
bites at it.
You know he's dumb, right? That's part of his.
But he does find the word boudoir in that where he's looking.
Then he goes and looks
Dictionary.
up photography. Then he goes back and looks at boudoir again.
Boudoir.
Yeah. I love a good mumbling through reading something joke, and when Chief Wiggum is going through the town charter, you can hear him mumble mutual circumcision.
Wow. That's in the charter, huh?
Yep.
I'm so sorry. I know I interrupt too much, but this is my only chance to get Simpsons shit on the record. Can I tell you, I feel like the only Simpsons thing that I noticed that I don't think I've ever heard anyone mention or notice ever is a mumbling thing.
Yeah.
It's in the Mindy Simmons episode, the first one, I think Last Temptation of Homer.
Yeah.
There is a school of Zen philosophy where mantra you use is Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, which means, I forget exactly, but it's something like, may your heart be like a lotus blossom opening. And now I know that Dan Castellaneta is into that specific New Age shit because when he's reading the shit on his hands
all blurred.
to Mindy Simmons that is all smeared that he can't say perfectly, he mumbles Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, which is like a Zen blessing.
Damn, I was convinced it was a sentence backwards. In my head, I'm trying to, Nam is man backwards.
Yeah.
Yo-ho, oh, no.
Also, don't they have Klato Brada Nikto hidden in there as well?
Ooh.
What's that one?
From The Day the Earth Stood Still and also Evil Dead.
Oh, the hidden Simpsons gems.
Oh,
So,
yeah, man.
back to what you were saying. It's a show that makes you feel smarter. That you can look up their mumblings.
Yeah.
You can their seeming gibberish and find.
I found it because the YouTube subtitle transcoder has gotten so good.
Oh, wow.
It finally spat out the words correctly, you know?
Oh, that's wonderful. And my final note is, this is a horrible joke, but obviously Hawking was on board for it. Larry Flint is right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's time to rank this thing. And Danny, look who's up first on this.
It's me. That's me. That's my name there.
Set the pace. And
Long pause.
Man, I feel like I'm just making friends with Swaim here, you know? We're bonding and things, and now I'm going to have to go and drop this on him. Look, I'm going to fail this one.
Whoa.
Because...
All right, well, I'll talk to you guys later. I got
fail.
It's been fun.
Oh, shit.
Mostly.
Well, look, I trust that the three of your rankings will bring it up by the mean system, the averages, you know? That means I have to follow my guts. And I walked out of this really upset. Not really upset, but just I didn't enjoy myself at all. The Mensa guys were, first off, they were like snarky and nerdy, and then there was all this like, this is what it means to be a nerd. And their portrayal of intelligence and of nerdiness and of geeky, and then suddenly going into the thing, and I didn't like the contest at the start. I would have scrapped that, and then the riot, and then, you know what? I liked moments. I liked brief, fleeting scenes in the night. Here and there.
BT.
I mean, how do you follow an act like that? Jeez.
I wish people could see the physical component, like plucking thoughts out of the sky. It was great.
That's the fun thing about talking to Danny, is there's so many ideas trying to get through your face at once that you physically flail to have to contain it all. It's great. Well, I think it started on about a bronze-ish and then got to a silver. I'm trying to figure out where that evens out. I'm tempted to be a little harsher, mostly because there are parts I think could have been cut to save space for somewhere else. So, because I'm sitting on the Brilva territory at this moment. Just trying to think where my guts... I'm going to dust off an old technique, and I'm going to try saying both and see which one feels more real.
Okay.
Yeah.
I give this a bronze. I give this a silver. Ooh, damn, that's tight. I'm going to go with a silver with the right to blurt something out later.
All right. Michael.
Solid silver all the way. Wow. I'm sick of hearing the word guts, so I'm not going to say I said it. Fuck.
I envy your conviction. That was definitely
I'm following
said
my
with...
nose to a silver. Yeah. I think I painted myself into a corner because I voted YOLO bronze. This has to beat that.
Oh, damn.
But it's not gold. It's definitely not gold.
There's better. There is better.
Elliot, what about you?
Well, I am just going to briefly pull up my Excel spreadsheet because I'm going to have to need to figure out how the averages are going to work from that. And I can't do math. I ain't in Mensa. But yeah, this is going to be the very first episode to receive 3 silvers and a failure.
I think that's going to make it shiny bronze.
We beat the spread.
But yeah, look, it's not one where I really enjoy the story too much, but there are just a lot of great jokes and memorable lines in here, and like a bronze like generally makes me feel a little bit more disappointed. You know, bronze is okay. Silver is good. I had a good time with this one. And a lot
Preach, sister.
Pardon?
Preach,
Preach,
man.
sister.
Yeah, I'm starting to feel like maybe, Danny's one of them. One of these Mensa folks who doesn't like the betrayal of which they made of him.
No. Oh,
And the rest of us dum-dums down here are
my God.
Could it be?
gonna make litter out of this literati.
He's a literati. Exactly.
Well, BT was right. This does average out into a shiny bronze.
Self-5.
All right.
And it will be the second episode from season 10 to receive a shiny bronze. It'll be joining 30 Minutes Over Tokyo.
Is that the one where they go to Tokyo?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a bronze. Yeah.
Yeah. Bronze with a little bit of shine on it. Yeah. All right. Well, that does it for the teens era. Now we are going to the classic, and what a classic we have. We are going to watch Lisa the Greek. Again, Michael, you picked this one, so you know what it's about. But Danny, I'll throw to you this time. Do you know what this episode is based on title alone? Lisa the Greek.
It's where she makes him an offer she can't refuse.
That's Sicily.
Damn. It's a classic one. It's got Lisa in it. Therefore, by elimination, she really wants a pony, and Homer breaks his heart trying to support for his beautiful daughter.
I thought it was the one where she opened up a kebab restaurant.
Oh, yes, a gyro.
Isn't it?
Lisa the Greek is a reference in classic Simpsons form to something from like the 50s or 60s that none of us
Zorba
know
the Greek?
about. Yeah, I think so. You got it.
Zorba the Greek?
Yeah.
That gets everything. You got to be sad. There's no jokes left for you to get, man.
No worlds left for me to
conquer.
If only I could understand me.
All right, we're going to go watch a classic Simpsons. We'll be back. And we are back, and we just watched our classic and final episode for the evening. This was Season 3, Episode 14, Lisa the Greek. First released in January of 1992, it was directed by Rich Moore, written by Jay Kogan and Wallace Wolodarski. In this episode, this is the Daddy-Daughter Day one, and Homer gets Lisa into football, and specifically betting on football, and then really disappoints her. Hey guys, what do we think?
I loved it.
Delightful.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, I mean, I picked it because I love it. Yeah, so
Yeah.
spoiler alert. It's great.
Well, yeah, in our correspondence as well, like, because I let you pick the teens and the classic ones, and you said, yeah, you're a big Lisa boy. So this one especially had a lot of resonance for you?
Oh yeah, I grapple with chronic depression, so Lisa's like my guy. Plus, I was the eldest child who had all the attention showered on him, which means I feel like I'm the overlooked child because it created a need for attention that can never be filled. So even though I am Bart, I think I'm Lisa. So it resonates in that way.
Yeah, well, I think in the course of doing this podcast, because, yeah, we've done like over 400 episodes now, and
Show off.
just thought I'd sneak that one in there. But no, what I've discovered is, yeah, I grew up, loving Homer and Bart, and over the course of this podcast, it's like, oh no, I'm more about Lisa and Marge, actually.
Yeah, for real. I've long held that Lisa is the character you're supposed to identify with. Like, Bart's wacky and Homer's lovable, but Lisa's the you in there. You that's the one you're supposed to put yourself in the shoes of. She's the one with all the character growth. She's all the one with the sadness as well as the happiness, you know, the ups and the downs and things.
Yeah, there's a somewhat prevailing theory that Lisa is the one a lot of the writers projecting themselves on for being these intellectual types in, small communities that didn't necessarily understand, their efforts towards comedy writing and writing in general and, creative expression.
Yeah.
So, was basically the kind of conduit through which they would speak. In theory, of course. Who knows?
And Bart can definitely carry a genuine character growth.
Yeah.
But Lisa did it first. Like, they would go to Lisa, and then over time, you're like, Lisa and Bart as a team. And then you're like, okay, Bart can do it. Now Homer. And then finally, you're like, let's do an Apu episode that's very grounded and like genuine for Apu.
Yeah.
But it takes time. Lisa was the original identity Simpson. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Let's hook into the questionnaire. BT, we'll start with you this time. For better or worse, what's a moment that stands out to you?
Man, I wanted to speak back to something Mike was saying in the very beginning where we kind of don't have any more The Simpsons being this lower middle class family. And so that scene where Homer treats them all to the fancy restaurant, I think nails that exactly. It's all they're playing up and telling jokes, and the waiter's like, oh, yes, how delightful.
Haven't heard that one before.
Yeah, exactly. But it's like, this is what you would do if you were that kind of family in this kind of situation where, you're just going to be cracking jokes and, talking about, oh, just bring us your finest bottle of wine. Chop, chop.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Well, even Marge, to that point as well, saying, Homer, look at these prices. We can fix that termite problem for this.
Yeah, and he's like, nothing but the best for my family. And he's wearing his long sleeves for once.
Yeah, they're all in church clothes tonight. How about you, Michael? What stands out to you from this episode, for better or worse?
This watch specifically that we just did, I completely blanked on how touching the moment is where, and it's because it's a great song pick too. He plays Broken Neck Blues at the restaurant for Lisa and they hold hands. Because I was like, I don't know jazz well enough to know that Broken Neck Blues is a legitimate, respectable pick. And regardless, it's such a good excuse to have a diegetic piece of score that The Simpsons would not normally be able to have in the score. That makes this really cool, weird moment. It's kind of like the moment later where it's more ham-fisted later, but they're in the sensory deprivation booth and they switch places and she's like, Dad does actually love me because he's dumb and he sucks. So, of course, everything he tries sucks and is dumb. But why would he even be here if he didn't love me at some base level? And I think this is the OG episode where she's having that insight. And then he threatens it and they rediscover it. But, the moment where they first find it, as Homer says, my God, it's like we have some kind of bond.
Magic.
I love that, restaurant scene for sure.
Yeah. Has some kind of bond, right after she gets, so gambling just makes a fun thing better. And it's like, oh,
God.
But it's punctuated with that sweetness as well. And he goes, not Sunday, daddy, daughter day. And he tickles her nose. Fuck.
Yeah, knowing how broken that heart's going to get. Oh, that moment.
Word. How about you, Daddy? What stands out to you, for better or worse?
Man, you know what? I know. I could just say that whole thing. I really liked watching him climb the mountain at the end, you know? Like, he's made up with her. He's realized how much of a problem he's been. He's tried to make amends. He didn't bet money on the thing. He got a second chance at making a bond with his daughter. And he does go on the big hike, and he's like doing the gulpy, out-of-breath thing where you're like, oh, he's going to hurl. Man. But he's there at the top of the mountain, you know? It's really beautiful.
He did the thing.
He did the thing. That was really sweet. What about you, man?
Oh, well, just to top on that, like, just the shot of the city, you know, it's not drawn quite as well as the Simpsons episode we saw before, but it's got its own sort of sense of beauty with the oranges and the way they painted the town and the sunset. Like, yeah, classic Simpsons sunsets are just a thing of beauty sometimes. Oh, but to your question, what stands out to me? Just because there's probably not a lot to pick off from this, the tiny little Bart subplot at the start of the episode in the first act of him going clothes shopping, you know?
Oh, yeah.
That was just a great little bit of relatable being a kid and having to go clothes shopping with a mom who's embarrassing you and opening the door on
Oh,
you.
man. Just all the adults point and laugh at him. Poor guy.
What a stupid kid.
Yeah.
Also includes, I think, one of the more beloved jokes of all time in Simpsons, which is, those aren't the socks she came in with. Let's move. Let's throwing the shotguns.
Yeah, that was great. Oh, man.
And it's got that great Marge moment of, well, anyone who beats you up for wearing a shirt isn't your friend. It's like,
Thanks, Marge.
It's so
Thank
Marge.
you.
It's so beautiful.
So on character, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
God, she's magical.
Isn't she? Like, she is literally magical. She could know what face he was pulling behind all those clothes.
Her mother knows.
But it's interesting in this episode that was, especially in comparison to the ones we just watched, such a slower pace. They took their time with a lot more jokes that they still even had time just to throw in a couple of little scenes of this Bart story at the start, which, you know, didn't really function into the rest of it, but was totally welcome and nice.
Sure. I really like it as sort of a beat where Marge sees Homer and Lisa trying to bond, and she gives the advice to Lisa, maybe you should reach out to him and say, which is great advice. Oh, perfect.
That gets
Beautiful.
surprisingly blue.
Yeah. Oh, yes. And Marge is like, and I reached out with a couple of other things that you'll find out when you're older.
Pretend to be interested in power tools and car chase movies and some other things.
Furious masturbation.
Jesus.
Pretty obvious.
Now we have
guys.
the trilogy of Furious Masturbation.
Play count. How many times before tonight have you seen this episode?
Oh, at least 25
Yeah?
minimum. Yeah.
I'd say 52% of the time.
So you haven't watched it 48% of the time.
Yeah.
VXIL. I don't know Super Bowl talk. Many times. I've seen this one a bajillion times.
I think they're up to L now, aren't they?
Oh, I also would have no way of
Oh,
knowing.
thank God.
Well, yeah.
I thought I was like gonna say, well, we call it soccer, but no, it's football. That's as far as I know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I was going to ask you as our American correspondent if you can shed any light on the NFL trivia in this episode, but nah.
No, I don't even know what the L is for.
Good on you.
Yeah.
I always love when Super Bowl is trending on Twitter and stuff that people are using the hashtag to tag in superb owls.
I think Colbert started that. Yeah.
Oh, really? Oh.
Yeah. Colbert Report launched that meme and it just continues.
Oh,
It's
he's
unabated.
incredible.
Superb owl.
But apparently for the year after this as well, that when it went back into syndication, apparently they redubbed the final two teams at the end to
really?
be Super Bowl accurate.
Really?
And it came out before the episode, and once again, they picked the winner.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Because I know everyone would watch The Simpsons and then be like, I'm going to go bet on who Homer bets on.
Yeah.
How could it go
That's
wrong?
also some George Lucas crap, though. I don't need that. Why would you have to go back and make it accurate? The joke doesn't rely on it being accurate. That's weird to me.
Yeah, and it
Leave
ruins
The Simpsons intact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then on the alternative of that, you get the bit where it's the Atlanta Falcons.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. And his wife, Hillary.
So, wackiness. Was this a particularly wacky episode?
Not massively, no. I know it's reasonably wacky for in the first 13 seconds of play for the score to be 7-0.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. 13 seconds.
Yep.
But it's never like suspension of disbelief,
Yeah.
you know? Compared to the last two episodes we watched, there's no Inspector Gadget in a wheelchair blowing flames out of his laser eyes while he's flycoptering away.
It's weird to think that episode was only 7 years later, right?
Dude. It's weird to think that I'm not being sarcastic. You know?
These are things that happen.
Yeah.
Oh.
And even among its peers, I think this is one of the more grounded ones.
Yeah.
Because you can go back in the early seasons and still find Homer like surviving stuff he shouldn't survive, etc. But this one has almost none of that. It's very much like a Married with Children episode that's way better written than Married with Children.
Although we do get a bit of black-haired Wiggum, so that's a thing.
Oh.
Yep. And a brief Hartman, which is always good to see.
Yes, our one guest star for the episode. Yeah, he's starring in a new sitcom, and he just loved the script. And given the trouble with his IRS, I couldn't say no.
Well, one of my actually sealed the deal, which I think is a particularly good Hartman delivery.
He's the best.
Just the dynamic going on there. And he was also playing Smooth Jimmy Apollo at the top of the episode as well.
Smooth Jimmy Apollo.
Oh, speaking of which, I Googled, and Lisa the Greek is a reference to Jimmy the Greek, who was a sportscaster who predicted stuff weekly.
That makes so much more sense than Zorba the Greek.
Zorba was a good pull, though. I still got to give it to you.
Undeserved.
Well, yeah, I think it really harkened back to the time of, all the hotlines and stuff, you know. Not that I knew any Super Bowl ones, but I certainly looked up the ones for Tarzos.
Pog?
Just to translate that, Tarzos were like an Australian version of Pogs.
Oh, yeah, right.
Oh, okay. I'd call into the Sega CD hotline to figure out how to beat Willie Beamish and stuff.
Oh,
That
yeah.
900 number, yeah.
But I gotta love the one on this. It's like, $5 for the first minute, $2 every minute after that. You've reached the coach's hot line in the game of
Cincinnati.
T.
Again, they were taking their time with a lot of these jokes.
Yeah. There are very few jokes where the joke is how long and slow the joke is that I'm still forgiving with these days, you know?
Yeah.
Like Family Guy was almost groundbreaking that one time they did it where he's on the ground, you're like, come on, the joke's still going, it's not funny, and then it's funny again, and then it's not funny, and then it's funny again.
Yeah. Well, for me, it was when they did the chicken fight for 60 seconds, and you're like, that is funny, how long of a period you devoted.
Absolutely.
Then they do it for 3.5 minutes, and you're like, I get it, you're just going to do a full episode at some point. Then they do it for 7 minutes, and you're like, I fucking get it. And then they finally do full chicken episode, and you don't care anymore. But I just got to underscore that Cincinnati slow phone call. That's one of my favorite Simpsons chunks of all time. It's part of the reason I picked this episode. Because within it, I think what maintains it as a slow joke is the joke is not repeated. He's trying to go fast, but it's going slow.
Yeah.
It includes different jokes that peek in, like, don't you realize this is costing me money? And the wind will be coming out of the northeast at 4 miles per hour. Knots.
Which 4 knots is like nothing. It's such like a little factor is all I'm saying.
Well, we
Like,
must
it's
consider
amazing.
many things.
So yeah, like not too much to report on with the wackiness, but how about the heart? That feels like a big topic.
Yeah, there's
it's
definitely
everywhere.
a chunk of heart there. Beating, throbbing chunk of bloody heart.
Gruesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. I really commend this episode and a lot of early Simpsons to do this thing where it's like very little story beats. Like Homer just decides to go bowling instead of hanging out with Lisa. But what a fucking heart wrench they turned
God.
that
Yeah.
seemingly little thing.
Yeah, the new football season's only 7 months away, and it's just, ooh. You felt that, I felt that, your mum felt that.
Yeah.
Especially because it's still in the era where Lisa does these dressing down monologues that an 8-year-old could never do, and they're so incisive and well written.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I do think there's downsides to a whole show being written by Harvard Lampoon guys, but one of the upsides is when you have the Smarty Pants character do a monologue in the seasons where it's still all those early guys, David Cohen and whatnot, they're very good speeches. Like, these guys could be writing presidential speeches.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
It's like, because I heard a quote recently, and I can't remember who it's by, but it's where it says, perfection is not where you can no longer add anything else. It's where you can't take anything else away. And the way they do the heart in this episode is so small. It's just these little bits of daddy-daughter day, and then they establish that Homer's going to do something else, and then that one line is, 7 months away, and then bang, that's everything, and you get it entirely.
Yeah.
And something I really noticed is a subtle dig in this watching of it is when Homer comes in and Lisa's like, oh, you've come to buy my love. Well, sorry, Homer. And she says Homer and not
Oh,
Dad.
I know that.
And consider
hurt.
that it's been Daddy the whole time.
Yeah.
And then it's Homer. It's just, it's the smallest thing, but I think that it digs perfectly.
Let me ask you guys, since you've done the research, do you find that because you have limited time, like, is it impossible to do, because I also like Wacky Simpsons, is it impossible to do Wacky and Heart? Like, do they conflict with each other? Is it better when an episode focuses?
I'd say yes.
I think there are some that definitely balance it. But
but
Yeah.
like I think the more you go for the jokes, the less you invest in the emotion of the story, you know? I mean, there's a balance, sure, but you sort of got to have a decision. I want this type of an episode, right?
Yeah, but I mean, it depends on what kind of wacky, because we talk about there's the implausible wacky and then there's the impossible wacky. So think about something like Lisa's Pony, which is full of heart, but it still involves Homer putting a pony in the back of his car and getting into Lisa's bed.
Having it lie down in the bed.
Yeah, and he falls asleep and has the door closing on his head at the Quickie Mart and stuff like that. It's still got the wacky moments, but it is, oh my God, it's heart everywhere.
That's actually a really good pull to make that argument.
Yeah, solid point.
That's a perfect example. And I think Homer getting hit in the head with the circular saw and continuing to sleep was when they first decided he's a little magic.
He's a little immortal. Yeah.
No, absolutely. But yeah, that's it. It isn't impossible for Simpsons to be, wacky and heartfelt at the same time. You know, that's why we do like to explore the concepts on the podcast, is because Simpsons, like, you could even put it on like a little grid thing, you know, wackiness and heart. Where does it fall?
Yeah,
Doesn't make it
yeah.
intrinsically bad or good. It's just, a point worth discussing.
I think the ones that get both are very, very rare.
Yeah.
So.
Yes.
Is it safe to say that everyone's favorite episodes are the heart ones, though?
Yeah, I would argue yes,
Ooh.
because in doing the Simpsons Index, a lot of these rewatches are contenders. My favorite are either Lisa's Pony
yeah.
or Lisa the Beauty Queen,
Yeah.
because they are just really
man.
funny, but also they get you.
They get you. That's
get
it,
you.
man.
Mm-hmm.
What do you reckon, Mike? What are
I-
some of your contenders for top?
Oh, God, that's too hard. Oh, man. I literally refuse to answer. I'm sorry.
No,
But
that's okay.
instead, I'll say this. I think more than I feel. So, like, my other favorite show is Arrested Development because it's about a bunch of sociopaths, but I'm not there to care about that. I love the intricacy of the construction of the jokes. And with Simpsons, I really do... It's way more clear in Futurama, because by the time Futurama rolls around, they just completely segregated heart episodes and wacky episodes.
Yeah.
I guess I really have a soft spot for the episodes that cram as many jokes in as possible, like Monty Python would, like Airplane would. So, like, I think Camp Krusty is up there for me. And there's tiny moments of heart, like, I think we're going to die. Me too. I mean, right now, so do I.
Yeah.
But it's not real heart. It doesn't end with any moment where the parents reconnect with the kids. The parents are doing their yoga jokes and shit. It's just so fucking funny. And I got a stump for the ones that are just like pure uncut comedy from beginning to end, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, whereas this episode's not full of a lot of those wacky jokes, and it doesn't even feel like they're cramming in as many jokes as possible, but there's a lot of situational humor that I like where the daddy-daughter day just evolves into Lisa making the calls for Mo.
Yep.
I think those are really, like, powerful moments, just how the day progresses for them.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, any other heartfelt moments that stand out to you guys?
Where she sells off all her Malibu Stacy stuff bought with dirty money.
Yeah.
It's it's poignant.
She got rid of the collagen injection clinic.
Yeah.
Didn't even want to know about the chinchilla coat.
And it's got that parallel of she starts in the shoebox and then ends in the shoebox.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, there was another heartfelt parallel where Homer, starts out watching football alone with all the snacks and stuff. And by the way, playlist of looking inside Homer's fucking heart episodes.
I thought you were going to say like the almost, multiple armed grabbing different snacks.
Oh, yeah. He's like a Ganesha sort of guy.
Yeah, totally Doc Ocking. But then once Lisa turns her back on him, he's just back to the snacks alone, you know.
Well, and it's just one chip and dip.
Yeah. Symbolism in chips.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, notice some of the brand names of things he's eating: crunchy corns and salt doodles.
Salt doodles.
Yeah. I could go a pack of salt doodles right now.
It, man. I know what I'm having for dinner.
So I wanted to ask about the end as well. Mike, what do you reckon? How do you reckon the end played out for you with Lisa, saying the teams that she loves Homer and, that.
What?
It works for me for Hart. I feel like I'm jaded by the formula being perfected because I do think it's very real that there was kind of a talent drain when Futurama started ramping up because a lot of your core people that make The Simpsons stay feeling like The Simpsons went to Futurama.
Yeah.
And they nailed Hart so well that by the Futurama era, that to me it feels like a brain hack, where like the dog episode, the Don't You Forget About Me, Brother, Luck of the Friarish episode, every time they just decide to flip a switch, they go, this is one of those episodes where you fucking bawl at the end. Got you, bitch. And I feel like Simpsons still has a more organic blend. So for sheer impact, I don't sob at the end of Lisa the Greek, but I have this meditative moment that by the time they've amped up their formula in later Simpsons years and into Futurama and Disenchantment, I'm never going to feel this exact feeling again. It feels like the same way in the 70s a movie like Kramer versus Kramer could win Best Picture, and the feelings it inspires, this thing about a dense custody battle. This Simpsons feels like a different era where I watched things that gave me this feeling of like, that's just realistic. He's huffing and puffing. You get the impression he's not going to do this again. He'll probably backslide and be a bad father soon. But she'll remember forever that this one time he tried, and life just is what it is. And I feel like they got much more definitive as time went on. And that's true of all TV and film right now. So I like this like weird feeling of just like, and we're out. It's better than when it was bad, so let's just leave it there. Sunset.
Yeah. How about you guys? Thoughts on the endings?
I really liked it. I thought it was heartfelt, not like a slap in the face of heartfelt, just like slice of life, you know? The perfect sort of counterpoint to that was Bart being like, you hate your dads, up by 5. That was beautiful because it was short and sweet. I often like find Simpsons does a lot to undercut the heart in later stuff, but a brief moment to sort of balance it out is just the salt on your strawberries. You know, that was really lovely.
Salt on your strawberries.
Wait, is that a common thing to eat
In
where
Australia,
you guys are?
down under.
You're all Italian, right? You're coming at me from Italy?
No, we love our strawberries and salt doodles. Yeah,
No,
Interesting.
Stop.
I heard somewhere that putting salt on your strawberry brings out the sweetness. Isn't that a thing?
yeah. It's a
I gotta try that. I know that with watermelon. I haven't heard strawberries.
Ah, there you go. At least we're on the same page.
Yeah.
All right. But no, I was just going to say, it's having the teams be what resolve this issue keeps us in the story so far. We don't go to Homer trying to redeem himself by doing something else. It keeps us in what we're already doing.
He doesn't try to do something. He's just like accepting. Does she still love me? Does she forgive me
the
or
simple
not?
outline of if I love you, Washington, if I don't, Buffalo. And there's a lot of, and I like that it keeps us where we are. We don't go to like some other thing.
Yeah.
And then that last little, scene where they're climbing the mountain says that, he gets it now. And he's broken the plans with Barney to go climb Mount Springfield.
Yeah.
And I think it's super notable that this early in the show, he realizes she still loves him, and he still decides, but in reciprocity, I need to try a little harder. And then not too much later in the show, Lisa's pony, he'll look at Bart and say, you don't get squat. Why? Because I look in your eyes and I know you still love me.
Yeah.
There was also a good moment where Barney says, hey, do you want to go bowling next Sunday? I'll have to blow off my mom who's coming in from Poland or
Norway.
something. From Norway.
oh wow.
Gumball, apparently. In
But what?
Norwegian.
No big deal. Let's go bowling. And so like that's the clear example of Homer. Don't be this guy. This guy's blowing off his mother to go bowling, and then Homer makes the exact same mistake and tries to blow off his daughter to go bowling.
Yeah. Interesting.
I know.
Barney is clearly worse Homer.
That's
Like,
it.
They
That's
are
it.
twins from alternate
There,
realities.
but for the grace of God.
But ultimately, did this feel like an episode of The Simpsons?
100%.
This is my type of Simpsons,
Yeah.
man.
I think it's one of the episodes that dictated the feel of The Simpsons.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's always hard asking this question with these
The formative ones.
yeah, especially the first 3 seasons where I think like season 4 is where they really hit their stride and they knew what the characters were. But yeah, as far as setting it up goes, these characters all resemble the ones I know today except for Wiggum and his hair.
Yeah. Jumping on the real problems, huh?
Jordan's anal corner.
Guns in.
But yes or no, would you watch this one again?
Hell yes, definitely.
Absolutely.
And I could watch again right now.
Well, we might, but first we must ask. Episodes that we do want to watch again, we like to think about what playlist we'd put in. You know, what other episodes sort of pair well with this one?
I mean, Lisa's Pony, I think, would be a nice counterpoint to
definitely.
this, because
Definitely.
it goes from she still loves him to that fear that she doesn't at all anymore.
Yeah.
And it's a very different resolution to him just realizing that in Lisa's Pony he actually has to do something to redeem himself. Also, sports.
Yeah. I was going to say when Lisa becomes the head coach of the Little League team, because there's that similar Moneyball feel where she just instantly is using all statistics.
Yeah.
By the way, that episode pales in comparison to this one, but they'd go together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could see how
can
far
see the
we've
link.
fallen.
Yeah. I could sort of see a link to episodes where, like, Homer's trying to earn in Grandpa's love, you know? They're like the ones where they go back to the old farmhouse and things. There's a bunch of parallels where Homer's desperate to have the approval of his dad, and Dad calls him a no good, useless... Homely as a mule's butt?
Homely as a mule's butt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, just comes into good Lisa episodes. And
Oh, easily.
maybe if you were doing a bit of a stretch, you know, Bart getting bullied episodes. You gotta come out sometime, Simpson.
Yeah.
He did look like a complete dweeb, though.
Oh, the episode where he dresses like a complete dweeb, gets the voice and the big
I'm a
shoes
nerd.
and the...
Yeah. Or even all the Super Bowl. I believe they've done 4 or 5 Super Bowl halftime shows on The Simpsons.
The never tedious halftime show.
The long overdue celebration of the halftime show itself.
Oh, yeah. Never tedious.
Time celebration at half times. Although I gotta say, I was more invested in Duff versus Duff Dry, you know. They're both great teams. All right, so Michael, what would you like to change about this episode?
Oh, man. Now the questions get hard.
I got the easy. I get to go first, so I'll take the easy short one. Wiggum's hair.
Damn it.
Other
goes
than
mine,
that,
so-
I'm good on it.
So nothing else?
He's good?
That's really it.
All
I
right.
think it's close to a perfect episode.
Yeah.
How about you, VT?
Man, I'm going over my notes, and I don't have any negatives written here. So, I would like Meryl Streep's versatility to be a real product. And actually, why do they not sell those? Go to hell, kiss my butt.
They used to have that.
Yeah.
Okay,
I'll get you one for
official
Christmas.
Simpsons brand, though, please.
Oh, all right, all right.
I love that Homer is also able to bond with Bart in this episode in a new way, but very quickly. Again, Dad, great gift.
And it's got that great
Solid work,
reprise
sir.
after the big heart moment of, you know, Lisa storming off, or sorry, running off crying. It's got that, go to hell.
Yeah.
Again, great present, Dad.
Yeah, I like to think that Bart was totally absent in this whole thing. It just so it's undercutting the heart a little, but it does help you get to the
It means
commercial break.
you go to the commercial break on a joke, though.
What would you like to change, Danny?
It's not an easy question. I sort of would, I mean, if we're just spitballing anyway, I sort of wouldn't mind keeping the Marge Bart story going, so we have the parallel going throughout the end. It'd be nice because it doesn't feel like Bart learned a lesson about Marge, you know? Feels like Lisa and Homer learned about each other, but Bart gets beaten up and hates his new clothes.
He's probably just still in that car.
Yeah, that feels unresolved to me as a subplot.
Yeah, I got nothing. Like, this episode fucking
Hypocrite.
That's why he went last.
rules. Yep.
I see what you're doing over there.
Maybe if they could have actually gone into Troy McClure's new sitcom of him being the detective living with a
Almost, yeah.
criminal.
Handle with care, yeah.
Yeah, handle with care. Thank you. All right, we're here. Danny, do you have any other notes?
I really liked the hard cut from this team's my lock of the week to clicking over to the next channel. This team's my shoe-in of the week. And
Ooh, that's a big shoe.
yeah, and he was so easily
Really big shoe.
influenced by all that shit, too.
And then later on, Lisa's got her own, her 5-star
Do you
silver
want
bullet.
money?
Yeah.
Oh, man. He is the everyman, isn't he? You know, seeing the most obvious ploys on the television and just being like, holy shit, I want money.
Yeah.
I like big shoes and locks.
Yeah.
The world understands Homer.
Oh, yeah, playlist of Homer impulsively calling something after seeing a commercial like with a juicer and he just starts palming the phone. Okay.
Calm
Calm.
Poor dumb bastards.
How about you, BT? Any other notes?
Well, when you're right 52% of the time, you're wrong 48% of the time.
Well, you're
and
off the hook.
Yeah, exactly. Again, it's a stacking of jokes. Well, what did you say that for? Well, you're off the hook. Yeah. Just the immediate forgive there. Library, the hit place to be.
Well, it looks like the sign's really working.
Ooh, yeah.
It's been a madhouse, Lisa. And I think that actually puts me out of nose. Well done,
There
everyone.
was the bit about homoeroticism when she's looking up football in the library.
Football homoeroticism in.
Yeah.
Canadians' goofy rules of.
Something
Yeah. How about you, Michael? Any other notes?
Oh, yeah, I got two. I really love both of Moe's answering the phone bits in this.
Yeah.
Actually, all three. Moe's Tavern, where the peanut bowl is fresh and hourly. And then when we cut in next time, he's hanging up from taking a bet, and he goes, yeah. Good luck, Your Eminence.
Or like he announces his Moe's smorgasbord, and it's like, bologna, bread.
Yeah.
Yeah. It seems funny that even is too generous for Moe now. Like,
Yeah.
current day Moe Trump hoils bowls of pretzels on the bar. It's shocking that he would give them bologna. And then I think the standout vocal delivery of the episode is Homer sobbing at the bar watching the game, and a guy goes, "Geez, buddy, what you got riding on this game?" "My daughter." "Oh, what a gambler."
Yeah, he's so impressed.
Yeah.
All right, and time for my final notes. I love the sound effect of the whip when Homer takes off his belt.
Ooh,
Yes.
Yeah.
I agree with Homer. That sounds like a fucking delicious ice cream that he's got with, the fudge and the whipped cream, crushed nuts, and crumbled up cookie things.
Yeah, definitely.
I'd bet my entire college fund on it. Mo put $23 on. All right, it's time to rank this thing. Oh, wait, one more note. Fucking Bill Haley sucks. I know it was the point of the bit, but god damn it.
Also at church, when the Reverend says, "I'm glad someone could resist the lure of the big game," and you just hear,
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Oh, beautiful. That was just magic.
All right, it's time to rank this thing. And Michael, you can go first this time.
the big old CZ, baby.
Yeah.
He's got it.
Cubic zirconium of the fakest and shiniest variety.
So, sum up your feelings. Why is that?
Because, as we said, I think it's one of the episodes that put the formulas in our brains that later became the basic formulas of the golden era. And everything that we perceive that's sort of like the downslide afterward, I see as people taking, well, there's this anomaly that Family Guy became a huge hit and definitely impacted the trajectory.
Yeah.
But by and large, it's these same formulas. They're just faster, more louder, more extreme version to top the last version you saw. And it's so refreshing to go back and see the original version. It's like you've only ever had a Tex-Mex fusion avocado bacon burger with an egg on top, and that is rad.
Yeah.
But then someone like takes you back to the Wild West and gives you a burger that's just ground chuck on a potato bun with a slice of tomato, and you're like,
Wow.
that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
That's what started it.
Yeah.
I'm hungry. That's the takeaway.
All right. Well, I'm echoing those points. It's just, I was thinking about bumping it down to gold because, it's not indicative of like a heart and jokes episode, but fucking hell, they deliver on the heart. So, that's easy cubic from me, BT.
Yeah, I was the same kind of way. I was about halfway through. I'm like, that's a little joke light. Is this a gold? But then it's just so core to the Simpsons experience. And it's such a well-structured episode. We don't throw into bizarre... When we were talking about wackiness, there's so little here because it feels so real and it feels core Simpsons, basically. So, this is everything we love about the show.
And Danny, I'm assuming a participant, or?
You know me so well. No, it's 3 failures in a row, right? Look,
we're all cunts.
This has really left me feeling warm and fuzzy. I think that's great. Now that we've sort of talked it through, I think, I mean, I do gravitate towards the heartfelt ones, but really, I just gravitate towards tight writing, you know? The early seasons especially, there's no wasted moment. There's no moment that isn't either funny or poignant or both. And they don't sacrifice plot to cram in 35 different subplots and screen gags and things in the later seasons where the screen's just crowded with background
And just
gags.
one where they let both the plot and the jokes breathe.
It's balanced. It's so balanced, you know? I wish I could write like that.
All right. Well, wonderful to announce that Lisa the Greek will be a unanimous cubic zirconia. This will be the 5th episode from season 3 that we've dubbed a unanimous cubic zirconia. It will be joining the aforementioned Lisa's pony. Also, Flaming Moe's, because of course that was.
Yeah, of course.
Homer alone, that's when Homer's left alone with Maggie and she runs away and all that.
Yep.
Rancho Relaxo.
Oh, it's Rancho. I wish I could have talked about Rancho Relaxo. That's a great one. That was a game changer for the series. They're like, okay, Marge is a real character. Here we go. And you're like, thank you.
Yeah. Oh, just being able to watch her get some time to herself and what she does with it. Bathtub, Thelma and Louise, and a bottle of tequila.
And a chocolate sundae.
Oh,
She's the best.
And the first time we ever see her hair down, I believe.
Yeah. Marge with her hair
To
down.
Marge.
to Marge! And also Homer at the bat, which was a very early cubic zirconia for us. That was
That
No question.
hits the ground running and just doesn't stop.
phenomenal episode. All right. Well, yeah, that about does it for the Simpsons. Huh?
All right. No. We do have one final question.
Do we?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. BT, your turn to do the questioning.
So we have a question for all our new guests, and that's simply, if you could have a sandwich named after you, what would that sandwich be? If that's too difficult, because it is a hell of a question to drop on someone, just a question of best sandwich.
The Swaim.
I think you mentioned it before, but anyway.
No, I'll go because there's a sandwich that I constantly. Okay. There's a whole subset of argument about whether a hot dog's a sandwich, and I think people say no.
I say yes, personally.
But for the purposes of being able to have an answer quickly, let's not even talk about that whole argument. I was addicted to and constantly recommend to people, and it's like the heart and the joke thing. Peanut butter on a hot dog. Bare hot dog and peanut butter. They're so different from each other. But they're both good foods that the peanut butter tastes extra peanut buttery and the hot dog tastes extra hot doggy. If that sounds like something you want in your life,
Strawberries and salt.
you know,
Yeah.
This is like the Elvis.
Yeah. You just blew my mind.
Well, so like with the hot dog as well, you're doing the trimmings as well, tomato, mustard, or just Frankfurter?
No. Peanut butter only. Straight peanut butter.
Yeah.
Oh, amazing.
Wow.
Some of our most ambitious sandwiches involve peanut butter. Like our friend Jimmy Mack, he had a toasted sandwich with peanut butter, baked beans, cheese, and potato chips.
Yep. And then
Peanut
pressed
butter.
together in a jaffle.
Yeah.
Baked beans.
Yeah.
That sounds. I can get behind that. I can already tell that's good.
We know someone who
Yeah.
tried
The
it and they
potato
said
chip,
it was good.
the baked beans.
That's a good mix.
Peanut butter seems like an odd thing, but I mean, I'd have to go there. You know.
All right. Well, yeah, that does it for the Simpsons Index. Michael, tell our listeners, where can they find you online and what's your stuff?
Oh gosh. On Twitter, I'm at Swaim_corp, CORP. And I am the team is on Instagram at Small Beans Comedy. You can find all of our podcasts just by searching for Small Beans on wherever you get podcasts. You can find all our videos on YouTube by searching for the Small Beans channel. And our hub that includes bonus material, behind the scenes shit. If you're a super fan, just go to patreon.com/smallbeans and you'll be up to date with all the news related to me and most of my friends.
Well, yeah, thank you very much for joining us today. We're seriously big fans of your
Yeah,
work.
we're huge
so-
fans, man. I'm so.
I'm thrilled. I felt so bad. People don't know it took us about 40 minutes to get this rolling.
Yeah.
I also rescheduled once because a friend had to go to the hospital. So it's been quite a saga, and I'm just so grateful you guys had me. Thank you so much. This is a blast.
Oh, no, seriously, pleasure's all ours.
Yeah, man.
Thank you, Mr. Swaim.
All right. Well, yep, that's been episode 144 of The Simpsons Index. That's been BT Calloway.
No hoy.
And that's been Danny Rosewell.
I'm Danny Rosewell.
That's been Michael Swaim.
So.
And I'm your host, Elliot Jay O'Neill. That's all the mustard in the house. Woo! Thank you for listening to the Simpsons Index podcast, which is also an online spreadsheet available at thesimpsonsindex.com. You can chat to us online at facebook.com/thesimpsonsindex or at Simpsons Index on Twitter and Instagram. Now, there's no bonus scenes this week, so I want to do some quick plugs. Next week, we are having another special guest in the Index. Jack Picone from Worst Episode Ever podcast will be joining us. And also, please check out our new podcast that's hosted by BT, Thrones of Game, where we watch Game of Thrones backwards. BT has already watched the show, but I have never seen it before doing this podcast. It's very silly, but it's a lot of fun. Also, we have been guests on other podcasts recently. Check out our multiple appearances on Shut Up and Take My podcast, which is a wonderful Futurama podcast. I got to guest on an episode recently featuring Futurama director Steven Sandoval, and oh my god, it was such an honor and a really fun episode to do. Also, we reviewed Mortal Kombat Annihilation on the podcast One Good Thing, and those guys will be joining us for an index very soon. And finally, to our beautiful friends over at Hottest 100s and Thousands. It's a fantastic music podcast that reviews the songs of the Triple J Hottest 100. They just wrapped their 6th season, and you can hear me in a small cameo in the season finale. Alright, that's it from me. Thank you for listening, and we'll catch you next week.